And I believe we are live. Hello, and welcome to another streaming experience here on Playback.tv with Silver Screen and Roll. I'm your co-host, Anthony. Good brother Edwin is here today. Once again, we're going to do some player reviews. This is the third iteration of, I believe we're going to do four of them. Today, we're mostly going to focus on Austin Reaves, but we're going to take some time after we talk about Austin to get to some other players, perhaps a little Vando, perhaps a little Jordan Goodwin, Rui, things of that nature. So, about to lock in. You see Edwin's putting the articles in Silver Screen and Roll. We are always doing this in conjunction with the release of articles on Silver Screen and Roll that are basically player reviews for the season. And then there's also some supplementary articles that Raj writes doing more detail specific things on certain individual players. I believe the last one I read, I think he has done one on Austin recently. I might be misremembered, but I think I read one that he did on Dorian Finney-Smith most recently. So all of those things are available at Silver Screen and Roll. You know what I'm saying? Get your hoop knowledge up. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Is doing what they do. No.
That's right. And we have Raj for the most part again, just like you, I haven't like actually counted, but pretty much all the main guys, he's done like a little analysis of kind of like, okay, let me think of an idea and kind of explore that through some film analysis. So for example, for Austin, he kind of focused on the playoffs. Like, what did we learn from his postseason play, the good, the bad, all that stuff. And Darius Soriano, who everybody knows, did the season review, and that kind of encapsulated everything from like, hey, what were the expectations at the beginning? How did he do? How was the season? Contract situation? Should he come back, et cetera, et cetera. He kind of broke all that down. So we got some good stuff. So we're going to do here, we're going to actually just, you and I, Anthony, just talk about it. We'll pull up some clips. Maybe we'll have a special guest. We'll see. Perhaps someone's going to slide through. Actually, I think I did get that.
JJ Redick.
Well, that would be huge. I don't know. I like JJ. I don't know if he likes me, but I like him.
He's like, man, I thought we got rid of Max Christian. Yeah, what's going on here?
He's like, man, he can't keep getting away with this. I'll definitely, JJ's going to see me. I'll probably hang out with him in Vegas this summer for summer league.
Is that a stage request I'm seeing?
Oh, it might be.
It is.
A special guest.
Is it locking it in.
Is it Rob Pelinka? Is it Austin Reaves?
What if we had Rob Pelinka, but it was what's old boy name? Rob Lowe. Like, what if we got like?
I'll take Rob Lowe.
Nathan Fielder. No.
I'll take Rob. We'll take we'll take the whatever Pelinka we can get. So we'll see if we can get that situated. In the meantime, again, every day we're doing season reviews until we finish. We'll finish next week. Wrapping up the final kind of players left, which are the big hitters. Kind of, we haven't done the Luka one yet, haven't done LeBron yet, haven't done JJ yet. That's going to be interesting, reviewing a coach. But who's joining us, Anthony? You want to introduce him here?
The one, the only, the biggest dog in the basketball watching world. Nobody watches more Lakers basketball than this man right here. Our good friend Raj is up in here. What's going on, brother?
Damn, you said JJ Redick, Rob Pelinka. I was like, damn, I'm not living up to all that. You try to put all those names before me. JJ Redick, Rob Pelinka, Rob Lowe.
You think they watch more hoop than you, brother? No.
I hope JJ watches more hoop than me. That would be pretty sad if he didn't.
If the head coach and general manager are not watching more hoops than Raj, we got
Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka, I think I can probably pass.
He definitely watch more hoop than Byron Scott used to watch. Come on.
That's yeah. And Luke Walton for sure. And Magic Johnson for sure. I think we all
Magic still watching hoop. No, Luke Walton maybe. But JJ, I'm sure.
Yeah, JJ's locked in.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Real sicko when I see one.
No, JJ's locked in. So
he's also getting paid more per minute of watching hoop than I am, so I would hope that
I think how much he watches, that actually might not be true. He might get to the point where he reverts back and he's like, I'm underpaid with the 24/7 over here. I mean, he's not even washing his car, right? He's pulling over and watching film. When he said I was watching the one that made me laugh. Yeah, the one that made me laugh even more than the film in the car wash was, him talking about like searching for answers for the Wolves. He's like, I was watching Wolves Jazz. I'm like, you're not learning anything from the Jazz defense, bro. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know. You're searching in the wrong corners if we got to Jazz film.
Maybe word came down that Laurie might be on the. You never know.
That was hilarious. All right, so let's jump right into it here. We already kind of warmed it up, talking Austin Reaves. as we mentioned, Raj did some great film analysis on him here. Golden Knights, and here ready to defend Austin. So I'm going to kind of kick it off. Simple part. We'll dive deep into the other stuff. Of course, Jacob. He's here to support Amp and Raj only. Oh my God! All right,
let's spotlight that. You know what I'm saying? Let the people know what's really going
spotlighting
on.
It is. Let's start simple. Just without getting into all the minutia of the regular season playoff. Just really simple. We'll start with Raj. Raj, what were your overall thoughts about Austin Reaves this year?
Yeah, I thought he took another jump, honestly. I thought he made the jump from like role player to fringe star, right? I think that's the role that you hope when you kind of elevate a guy's role. D'Angelo Russell was benched early for Cam Reddish, which was kind of like handing Austin Reaves the keys to the car. And I thought he drove it pretty well before Luka Doncic came in and was like, nah, this is my car now kind of thing. And I'm going to drive wherever the way I want to. But yeah, I thought he had like a really good season, had a great second half of the season, super efficient, high scoring, a bunch of high scoring games as well. And then in the playoffs, I thought you saw some of the struggles of not just him, of the roster. But again, I thought he took the jump that you would hope a guy going year 4 that you've kind of really developed into an on-ball guard, high volume. His 3-pointer went to the high volume that you'd hope. He drew free throws at a really nice rate in the regular season. That didn't really translate against the Minnesota defense, but yeah, overall good season for him. The playoffs are that's what kind of determines what you think of his season, I guess. Those 5 games versus the 8, 70 game sample that he showed you in the regular season. That's kind of, I think, the conversation we can have. But yeah, I thought it was another jump from him, a player that's gotten better every single year. And he finally entered that, elusive 20-point a game scoring club, right? That's kind of the marker of, are you a scorer in this league? And he kind of hit that. And I think that was kind of the marker for me for like, all right, this is a guy that can, be a starting guard on a really good team.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Very well said. Anthony, what do you want to add to that? What was your overall, without getting too detailed, what were your overall takeaways from Austin Reaves in 2024, 2025?
Well, it was obvious to me that like JJ specifically singled him out as somebody that they really wanted to invest in before the season. And I think he paid the investment off tremendously just by improving his game in every facet that we wanted him to realistically improve it in. Becoming, a more capable and reliable scorer consistently. Just as simple as like, his pick and roll driving and stuff like that, his pick and roll play improved. He was making reads more consistently as a passer. His dribble to pass ability improved this season. His ball handling improved this season. And he was always a demon in the paint, but he was able to parlay his other skills into getting to that area of the floor more consistently. And just showing a lot more poise in terms of being a ball handler. I think he still struggles with pressure and stuff like that. But we did a lot of things to help him, getting him screened further out towards like the half court line, getting him downhill and stuff like that. I think we did a lot of things to help him really become the player that we kind of envisioned him being after the last 2 seasons of improvement that we saw from him. And I just really appreciated that he showed up pretty much every game. You know what I'm saying? He was hurt a couple times. I think he missed like 5 games at some point. Then he put that headband on. Once he put that headband on, it was over for the league. You know what I'm saying? Austin Sleeves, as I affectionately call him. Once Austin Sleeves got busy, then, you know what I'm saying, the team kind of took off. We were kind of a middling team in terms of regular season, but with him having a more active role in the offense for both variants of the team, pre-Luka and post-Luka, he was extremely vital in what we were doing. So I just appreciate the effort. I'm not one of those people like, oh, he had a bad playoff, so like that washes away everything. I think there's something to build on here in terms of like people like, oh, you're going to take another leap, I don't know about that necessarily, but I think what we have right now is a really good basketball player, and I appreciate what he did for us this season.
Yeah, for me, it's complicated, right? With the good and the bad. I think
Right.
I'm people say, oh, you hate Austin. Of course I don't hate Austin. Austin's great. I just,
Hater.
again, we'll get to we'll get to that later part. Like I said, we're gonna just do the overall. We'll get into the minutia in a moment. I think the overall, yes, he had a great season. He was able to, take on more responsibility. And what's impressive is, we say more responsibility, it feels like, oh, he must have played like 10, 15 more minutes. No, he only played 2 more minutes compared to under Darvin Ham, right? So, but it's how those minutes were used and what he did. His usage went up so much compared to how much more his minutes went up. Like the ratio is way off. It was way more usage, way more, especially like you guys said early on ball action. And I forgot when I tweeted it out, but at one point I'm just like, one thing I really pride myself in is I kind of know players. I'm able to take my heart out of it and just kind of analyze. And I feel like for the most part, I'm right on the trajectory, what the potential is, what the ceiling, what the floor is. And very few times does a player surprise me because I got the range right. It's just where they're going to fall that I'm not sure of when they're young. Austin Reaves is a player who, wherever I put that, he just keeps crushing that ceiling. And I'm just like, okay, they're getting too excited. And then he crushes it. And then he's playing in FIBA. And then he's coming back from that. And then he's killing the Grizzlies. And then he's starting. And then he's a bona fide starter. And now he's a 20-point player. And, I tweeted something out like, I just don't know what his potential is. Like, if you told me, 3 years from now, actually, he's an all-star Western guard, I'd be like, that would surprise me. But I'd be like, okay, I guess he kept going. And if you told me that this is his height, I would also say, okay, cool. Then I guess we found out that this was it. I'm just not willing to kind of put a cap on him because time and time again, the more responsibility he's gotten, he's crushed it every time. Didn't crush it in the playoffs, but again, no one kind of did. So we'll get into kind of that and how much that matters. It's an interesting conversation I want to get to later because we always talk about, the big sample size. 5 games is a really small sample size, but also it's the most important sample. So we'll balance that out. But before we go into all of that, let's just kind of talk about his offensive ability. So I'm going to throw it to you, Raj. From his growth and his progression, what about his offense did you find impressive in that growth? I know you broke down some stuff on the playoff stuff, but just on his general offense, what impressed you this year that maybe you didn't see as much of the previous seasons?
Yeah, I thought, to make that jump from because after the Luka trade, it was kind of thought that, his offensive production may take a hit, but he jumped to 22 points a game, to close the season out on pretty close to 50, 40, 90. And I think how you could become a 22 to whatever 25 point a game score, which is, amped, you're saying, can you take another step? I think that's the next step, right? It's the jump to the 25 point a game kind of scoring, which I'm also questioning if that's the jump he makes, but it's the 3-point volume, the 3-point attempts, right? And he was at almost, I think, 7 or 8. That jump to almost 10 a game in the playoffs, was that the right move? Probably not. But in terms of like his jump in scoring, to me, came from the jump in 3-point volume, especially off the bounce, taking shots, every time teams go under, becoming a high volume off the bounce 3-point shooter. A couple of years ago, he was a kind of, the glue guy type of player, taking a lot of spot up threes off of LeBron's shot creation, D'Lo shot creation. From that to become a guy that you give the ball to at the top of the key and says, like, I'm hunting bigs on drop coverages or pulling up from there. And then he kind of works in Amp. You called him a demon in the paint, like putting people, in jail, getting to the line. I think he averaged 5 free throw attempts a game in the regular season. So that really jumps your points as well. Shoots that at a really good percentage. But to me, that's the impressive part. It's the off the bounce jump shooting to me, which again didn't translate as well against Minnesota. The ball pressure for sure is a big part of that. I think part of that too is not having a ball screen partner either that's dynamic at all. That's a role threat. I thought that hurt him. But yeah, the just off the bounce shooting to me and the ability to be a guy that, even with Luka and LeBron on the team, he's a guy that you throw the ball to at the end of the games. LeBron not guarding Josh Giddey kind of took away a game winner from him, but he had, the 2 potential game winners against Chicago, the game winner, I believe, against Memphis on the road as well. Just a guy that the Lakers can really turn to because he's a high free throw rate shooter, high percentage at the free throw line, and a guy you can trust to hit off the bounce jump shot. So to me, that's the most impressive part of his jump. That's the thing that I didn't see. The high volume 3-point, shooting, and then a guy that you could just give the ball to at the end of the games and just be like, hey, go get us a shot. And he's kind of turned into that.
Got it. Yeah. Before we go into Anthony's thoughts on Austin offensively, I want to highlight something Jacob mentioned here, which is kind of some of the behind the scenes stuff people don't realize. He says Austin ruined multiple stories we wanted to do with bad second halves. Important to remember when assessing his season. And that's something that's funny. Like there's a time, me and Jacob were like, oh, let's do an Austin feature. And then, we're waiting for the right game where he like plays well and be like, oh, great. We can get some quotes. And like, we've been wanting to talk about it. We noticed things throughout the year that are kind of standing out. And his play kind of stood out immediately. Like, oh, he started hot compared to a season ago when he started so poorly after FIBA, right? He looked like exhausted and stuff. Like this was the opposite. He kind of started off, really good. But this is stuff that the stats don't really show you unless you're really digging into the weeds. There were a lot of games where he'd start off good and be like, oh, he's got 13 points. Oh, he's gonna have a great game. Like this could be the night. And then he'll go, 0 for 4 in the third quarter, 1 for 6 in the fourth, and the Lakers lost. And we're like, well, it'd be kind of weird to be like Austin stepping up, and we're gonna write down the day where he kind of like choked it away at the end. So I think the next step for him, which we'll get to later, is that consistency. Okay, you're getting those points, but are they balanced? Are we getting them all the time, or are you hitting your stride in pockets and not doing it consistently? I think that's the difference between like a solid role player and like a star / predictable player. It's the ability to constantly hit that rate and not just, oh, these games here, or, they weren't guarding me in this moment. And like, I was playing against the backup unit and I got hot, like doing it no matter what, and just being able to rely on it consistently. That's another thing that, I want to see from Austin more. But Anthony, for you offensively, what were the things you saw? You were on playback here for all the road games. Shout out to you again, every single one. What did you see that kind of stood out that you maybe didn't see as much of earlier in his career?
Well, to echo Raj's point, I made a video about him like before right after the season in which we had the Western Conference Finals thing against the Nuggets. And I was also focusing on whether or not he could be a comfortable off the dribble shooter. Because you would see on the film that a lot of his stuff was just like he needs to be able to plant both of his feet and shoot the ball in like comfortable circumstances. His release was kind of forward, so like contested shots were a little shaky for him. Like I think I went through the numbers, and I don't think he had like 50 shots like off the dribble from three like that season. I tracked it, so I was looking for that. He got really adept at that, sped up his process in those moments. Another thing that I really liked is that he played to contact more consistently and more successfully this season than initial seasons. I mean, than previous seasons. And I think that has to do with kind of the way we schemed him. I talked about us kind of getting him in early offense, us getting him like ball screens further out where he's able to get downhill and actually like bump guys off. He was like really good at bumping guys off and getting the shot up on the glass. He did it in prior seasons, but he did it in more of a way where he was kind of snaking around, like pivoted in the paint looking for contact. But this one, it was more like sudden, just quick actions, and he was getting to the paint, knocking guys off their square, getting the ball up on the glass. And just the pace that he played with is something that I really took from this season. Just that he had like another gear, because I think when he tries to play like methodical, he can get exposed with his ball handling and stuff like that. So when he decides to play with pace and he plays faster, he's able to be a lot more successful. And I think he did that really well this year. I think it kind of contributed to some of the problems he had, though, like the toe injury we talked about. He had like when he missed those games, I think he had some kind of calf strain or something like that. So he was like working at a rate that he hasn't worked at before, but he was still able to finish the season strong. And besides I'm talking about the regular season. So he basically gave us 70 plus games of that kind of play. He was on it from jump. Like I appreciated how he started the season, because I think we tried to give him the keys last year and he didn't start the season off well enough to justify what we were doing, right? So this season he came in a much improved basketball player just in the process of it all. And we saw the results over the course of the season. Like we talked about 20 points a game, career highs, and pretty much everything. Now, some of that is more usage. D'Lo left and AD left. So like there was some time there where he was able to accumulate those numbers. But even if that didn't happen, like I think he still would have been hovering around this point anyway. I just think he became I won't say more efficient, like efficiency wise, but like movement wise and process wise, he became a more efficient basketball player, and it really helped him this year.
Yeah, for me, I think the main thing for me was on ball. Like I feel like so many times what the guide was there for him. Oh, get physical with him. Get in his shirt, get your hand in there, get in his body. He's gonna struggle. And he got better at being crafty. I like what you said about not being methodical. It felt like when he would just, when he had that dance with like a one-on-one defender, and he would just kind of let the game kind of come to him, and dribble his way around. See when a defender kind of overhelped, he used their momentum against them, and he was able to sway and rock. And that's why we saw so many times. Oh, he's making them dance. Like, oh, I haven't seen Austin like cross somebody like this. And like you said, he got really good at doing that little mini spin fadeaway and those kind of actions. He got really, really comfortable. Also, even doing some kind of mid-range stuff, which is definitely frowned upon in JJ's, where he'll at least get into the restricted area and then He'll do his little pump fake, then he spins around and he's scoring and he's getting those layups in and he's finishing at the rim. And we mentioned his 3-point shots. And I think another thing is his passing. He got so much better as a passer. I saw him doing way more skip passes. I saw him lobbing. It felt like he lobbed way more this season than other seasons. Now he's got Jackson Hayes and stuff like that. A few times he overdid it. I already see you laughing, Anthony, because probably a few LeBron ones were kind of crazy.
If you see LeBron, he throwing that thing up. It don't matter where or when.
He got a little too excited with LeBron. I think he had some really nice ones, I believe, to Dalton as well. They had a couple nice combos. So I saw him kind of looking for those opportunities and finding them more this year than other years. And that's important when you're the on-ball creator. We want to put pressure on the rim. Make them respect that, hey, if we're in a pick and roll action and I see him cut and he back cuts, I'm going to lob it to him. I know who can do it. Again, got a little too excited with LeBron sometimes, but those were the right moves with Jackson Hayes. Those were the right moves with Dalton Connect, who people don't think about as like an explosive player at the rim, but he absolutely is. And I liked what I saw from him when he was initiating the action. I felt comfortable with him on the ball. Years before, every year I've gotten a little more comfortable, but I was never really happy. I'm like, too much on ball with Darvin Ham. I'm like, too much on ball. And that's because he was turning the ball over. He was getting pressured and he was struggling with it. This year, way better in that. I think he grew a lot in that regard. One more thing before we kind of go into some defensive stuff here. Actually, before we do that, I want to talk about what George Santiago says. I asked this from Raj and Vinay before. I'd like to do it with Anthony Edwards, so we'll do that. How much juice is left in the LeBron AR inverted pick and roll? It was discouraging to see we got nothing from it when the Wolves were finally surrendered the switch, but maybe it's just a bad 5 games. For me, I think I like the idea, but the problem is, with LeBron getting older and older, I just don't feel as comfortable putting him in more of those actions. I do like the idea of those kind of mismatches, but especially early on, I doubt you'll see much of it next season, at least in the beginning. Maybe mid-season, you'll start to see an increase, but I just feel like it's a good idea, but we're putting LeBron in more and more work. That's the part that just kind of makes me a little uncomfortable with it. Anthony, what do you think about that?
Well, I do think that there's still some like juice to be squeezed out of like Austin as a role man. He's been a really good role. I didn't check the numbers for this year, but
Sure.
the years prior, like he was a highly efficient role man. Like it's going to be skewed because like the way it unfolds and stuff like that. The floor is in a different state of balance and things of that nature. But I think that partially it's because of LeBron's like he doesn't have the first step anymore that he used to, and he's not as reliable as a finisher in those scenarios. So I think that when we used Austin as a screener, it was more to get like screen for LeBron to get the mismatch like on the block, like not on the block, but like on the elbow and things of that nature where he could catch the ball and survey as opposed to like trying to attack off the dribble and stuff like that. His shooting, it was still like tremendous. So like there's still ways we can make that kind of action work. But with Austin becoming more of a prominent ball handler in our offense, we're just going to see it less as a function of what he does out there now. Like Austin and Luka situation might be something that we could consider. We kind of mitigated some of those things by like running stack a lot and stuff like that. Like you can kind of do kind of the same things and just like have Austin either slip out or settle into certain areas of the floor. Like you can still weaponize him as a screener. We just weren't able to do it against a team like Minnesota that could switch everything without any consequences of having a mismatch on LeBron. Like if it's like Randall and Jaden in the pick and roll, like that's not going to be a win for us because they have the superior athletes in that scenario. So like I think it was partially just because the matchup was bad, but also the aforementioned stuff with LeBron as well. Like he's not going to be a high like level pick and roll guy consistently at his age. That's asking a lot from him. So
that's my concern with it.
Yeah, I still like it as a concept, though.
I think part of that too. I was just gonna build on that was Luka had a fascination, but he had a grudge against Gobert where it didn't really matter what the other matchups were. That's the guy he wanted to attack. Where even when Mike Conley was on the floor defending Austin or one of the three, we really didn't use him in these matchups, which I thought was disappointing to me. We really didn't go at Mike Conley. Now there's a lot of like clips going out there. Mike Conley shut down Austin Reaves. Like it's not really how the story unfolded. It's not really how the story unfolded, but he did have a few good defensive possessions. But like that's what I was gonna ask next. What Am kind of brought up was I thought the Luka Austin 2-man game, we didn't get deep into that at all this season, and part of that is because Luka likes having a big man as his partner. But I still think there's a lot of meat on that bone to kind of work on for next season. And again, like it'd be nice if Luca can set a ball screen once in a while. Like that'd be dope. Like
See, Raj, this
that'd
is
be
Short
where
roll
cool.
Luka
Like
could be a
Raj,
problem
that'd
if
be
he
cool.
commit, man.
That'd be
I
cool.
don't-
Just once or
Raj,
twice. Like
I'm with you, but
set a ball
that's not. I'm
screen.
telling you right now, I don't care what he says. That's not going to happen. We've seen
Just-
him play long enough. Show me
I
the
know,
find the
I
clips.
know.
Find
I'm
the clips
just
of good
saying,
ball
like,
screen. I know, I get it, but that's
it
you
would-
you
it would
flew too
be-
close to the sun on that one.
I know. I'm dreaming out here. I'm dreaming.
But more Luca Austin, I'm with you. Obviously, another versatile, big, and a lob threat's going to be. That's what he wants. That's what he likes. Give your star superstar what he wants. If that's what's going to get him to commit and to work on it, great. One more thing about that, and then I want to go to the one of the best Austin Reaves. Some of the footage from his Pacer game. That was his 45-point game, especially with the Pacers playing right now. Probably great to kind of pull that up and see when he really shined when the team needed him. But before we get to that, one thing I wanted to talk about was, that's what drives me crazy. Like those TNT guys, they're like, you're a big man, you got to pick on the little guy. The reason why you don't want to spam a mismatch too much is because of what you mentioned, Raj, about Luka. I get that you can cook Rudy. I understand that. We're playing, Kevin Durant talked about that with the Pat Beverly. We're playing a game. It's 5-on-5. I can't get caught up in a little like tit for tat. And then I miss 2 of them. And then they go on a fast break. And next thing you know, it was a 6-2 run because you're trying to prove a point that we know you can cook them. We like when you cook them. It's fun. We're playing Lakers Wolves, not let Luka roast Gobert. And too many times he was, like you said, he was getting greedy trying to go to that. And it ended up messing the offense up. Easy baskets for Minnesota. And next thing you know, we're already behind the 8 ball because you were out here trying to prove a point that unless you're hitting all those shots, it's just not good basketball. We need to get the best shot possible with the players on the court, not have you out there, looking for revenge. So it leads to a scenario where we only win if you make those buckets. And as you saw, that's not what happened. So it was not a good situation. All right, so this game was, I believe, a Saturday matinee game. I believe I was at this one because it was at home. And I remember I asked Reddick about, Austin and in kind of this performance, 45 points. It was absolutely amazing. So let's just go ahead and we'll play the clip. And is this, Anthony, I'm not sure what we're watching here. Is this going to be all the buckets? What do we got pulled up?
It's all the available things on Shot Create. I wish the high-low was here so we could really get into the minutia of everything. But it's every bucket, assist, I'm assuming steals and stuff like that on here for that. But before I play this, because y'all didn't tell me the first time we did this that it was volume playing through this thing. I muted the site. I didn't mute the actual thing. I forgot. So
okay,
if y'all can hear some audio, let me know so I can mute it. All right.
Okay, cool. And then Raj, we'll just talk about it as we see it, and if we want Anthony to pause something or replay something, we'll let him know. All right, go ahead, play the tape.
Bean footage, baby.
All right, we're good. All right, let's see what this is right here.
Prime example right here. What I was talking about in terms of getting him downhill. Just a little throw, a little chase, get downhill, get a nice screen from Dorian. Nice little instep right there from Austin, cutting off that attempted block angle.
Yeah, I believe this game had no LeBron, no Luka either.
Yeah, this was right after the trade, right?
Yes.
I think this was right before
this
Luka.
was an ESPN. This was an ESPN game because they were hoping that Luka was going to play.
Luka
Luka's like,
play.
I'm not going to play.
Right,
and
they're like, yeah, he might be active for Saturday. He was like, nah,
right.
I saw a lot of. I'll say it because I'm not naming names. I saw a lot of empty media seats that day, Raj. Because all of a sudden, people didn't want to watch the Lakers Pacers on a Saturday. It was early too, it was like a 2:30 game or something. I remember, and then they were like, "Oh no, Luka, I'm not going to be there."
And this is against like really top level. I think you mentioned before. This is Nemhard. Right? I don't remember if Neesmith played this game. I'm not sure.
He did, but he didn't guard him much, if I remember correctly. I think I went through this specifically to find if he did do. Let me.
I'm pulling up the box score myself here. So we had
fix this. All right.
Halliburton, Siakam, Bryant, Nemhard, Benedict. Yeah. Obi Toppin played. Neesmith. They had their squad. Yep. Neesmith played.
I went through all the buckets. I think he might have been in the picture one time Austin scored, like in the second half, but I definitely was checking because I had the same thought.
Turner played this game as well, or
I believe so. Let me check. Turner. No, Turner did not play.
Okay.
Yeah, Miles Turner did not.
So he didn't see the full playoff defense.
So that's why right here. Yeah, that's why Jackson Hayes was able to play. But
disrespecting Jackson Hayes again, bro.
Purple Gold.
Yep.
Mine says real issue. We don't have a laptop threat. Yep, we can definitely agree that that's a thing that needs to be addressed.
But as you see here,
Oof.
rejecting the little jack screen situation here behind the back, little snatch off the dribble
Yeah.
shoot like me and Raj talked about.
Yeah, that's the impressive thing to me. Him adding that because
Yeah.
I didn't see that 2 years ago in terms of that being a high high level shot for him consistently. The off the bounce step backs
Where
and
you got Luka LeBron sitting down, enjoying it, and
Nice
again,
pass.
yeah, beautiful. Yeah, that's exactly the pass I was talking about to Rui. Those
the
were the
skip
kind of
passes.
passes. Yeah, those skip passes we weren't seeing as much, years prior. You saw it every now and then, but he's finding them because again, he's processing the game better. He understands the spacing better and where players are. He's just more comfortable.
He had like 14 free throws this game too, right? I think.
Yeah, he had a lot. Let
Yeah.
me
If
pull up.
if we were on the high low, you could see how he drew the foul attempts. But
Yeah.
Let me.
I'm on it every day.
Yeah, this was just like a full I'm a unstoppable scorer type game. Like you have nothing for me.
Yeah, he went 13 of 13 from the free throw line in this game. So
Yeah.
literally perfect, amazing. And that's what I'm talking about too. You're seeing a lot of in the paint baskets. Look at
Yeah.
that. See, so the Lakers don't like the mid range, but again, in the paint, they're a little more
Get up
open to
off
like,
me.
okay, yeah. See, look, nice stop and go. That's something Luka really excels at. He can go, even though he's not fast, he can go from his speed to like nothing on a dime. And like when you can do it like that, that creates separation as well. The players are still kind of backpedaling an extra half a step. That gives you the room when you do pull up on your jumper. You got a little bit of room there, and then that little forward area that Anthony was talking about, you can live with that because since you stop so quickly, they're not going to be able to recover in time once you get to the high point of your release.
I don't know about both of you guys.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I was gonna
just
say
gonna
like I'll say I don't know about you guys, but like if I time traveled back to like February Raj, like this is when I thought we were winning it all, honestly. Like this is the game where I was like, I don't know how you guard all three of these dudes.
Before Luka even played, you thought they were
It's Luka Doncic. What do I mean? Like I have
You know
enough
what I'm saying?
sample size to like look at that.
He said
Sorry,
Austin gonna be
That's
doing
true.
this. Luka gonna be averaging 35. Like
I
Right.
thought the
But-
only team, my most optimistic, I thought the only team that could beat the Lakers if they're healthy was OKC. And clearly that was not true. I mean, if you want to include these injuries they were talking about, but I think that proved me wrong. Unfortunately, I'm like, oh, actually, we're a little short. But I mean, yeah, I mean they played great, and these are the kind of games you need from players like Austin too, because like LeBron's not there, Luka's not there. Guess what? Next year there'll be other games where LeBron's not there, Luka's not there, back to backs, injuries, etc., etc. You need guys who can step up and say, you know what? I'll put the Superman cape on tonight. I can go get you these buckets. I'll take care of business. And this was a game they needed that,
talking?
and he totally did it.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
It froze on me. I'm like, oh, did you stop talking?
Yeah. So yeah, this was a
Oh,
great game. Go ahead.
What I just wanted to point out was in like the thing I kept rewinding. He got really good at using the in and out dribble with his left hand, and I
Mhm.
think that like really helped him keep guys off balance more so than he had been doing in previous years. Like I said, that's an example of his ball handling getting tighter because that's not an easy thing to do with the offhand. As we get a nice little contact layup on Neesmith, who we were looking for earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just the amount of skill work, like it's not like dramatic improvements, but just things that made him a more functional ball handler in certain scenarios and able to get to the paint and finish like he just did there.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, cool. So we can pause that now. I think now is a good time to kind of go to something a little less exciting, which is defense. So, Raj,
Oh
defensively, we're overall we're omitting the playoffs, but just the regular season. How did you feel about the things you saw that you liked and things you didn't like about Austin Reaves' defense?
Yeah, it's funny because defense is something that like it's offense. People are able to kind of separate different skill sets. But defense is kind of always put in a you're either good or bad bucket, right? In terms of when people separate players. I think Austin has defensive skills. I think he's on a team where, especially after the trade, there weren't many, I guess, perimeter guys you trust on the defensive end. So a lot of the times I thought his matchup was always someone that he was kind of overmatched against, someone who had always had like an athletic advantage over him. But I think he's good as like a chasing type of defender. So I thought that was kind of a place where he, did okay at. But he's a guy that's going to get hunted. I mean, I think that's just the nature of him and a guy that's an on-ball scorer. That's the nature of their defense as well. They're guys that teams try to attack their legs with. So like I have no aspirations of Austin being a great defender or making any all defensive teams, but I thought
Yeah.
he was like, like I thought there was places where he was fine, and I think there are perimeter matchups where he's okay. And I think there's even playoff rounds, right? He was a guy that we threw on Steph as well, like in terms of a whole playoff. Not sure, and he talked about how much hell that was, but in terms of that's kind of the guy we had to throw on him. And so like that's where I put him. Even next year, it's just when you have Luka, LeBron, and him that really like kind of makes it tough in terms of who you put on other guys. The other two need to be like super defenders, and they're just not. Dorian Finney-Smith and Rui Hachimura, love both of those dudes for what they do, but those aren't really on ball perimeter guys. Hawks as well. Like something that stood out to me watching the playoffs, we don't have a single guy that I don't know if this is like way out, but we don't have a single guy that can ball pressure like at all. Like
Vando. I think Vando can a little bit.
Vando comes in looking to fight. Like he's not trying to play basketball to me. Like he's looking to.
Hold on. Who's doing
This
the
this
Vando?
this is post foot Vandal. Pre foot Vandal, we
Yes,
used to mix
yes.
it up.
Three-foot Vando was a defensive monster. Post-foot Vando has been told.
I'm pushing back a little bit on this. So I think
Oh yeah, I ain't
Vando
rocking with it
wasn't-
either. I'm just saying.
I don't think Redick did a great job of optimizing Vando. I think he's so
That's
focused
fine.
on switching everything that I would say he didn't get the opportunity to showcase some of that on-ball pressure quite as much. I mean, heck, he didn't get the opportunity to play in Game 4. But anyway, so I think that Vando was minimized and neutralized because they're like, hey, we're just switching everything. And I think teams were like, oh, thank goodness, we don't got to worry about Vando because we can just switch things around and they're not going to push back. They're not going to reject switches like that. And they're just going to keep on going on it. So I agree he didn't look as good. But I think there's a combination of, ramping up the foot injury. He had a very shortened season. I think he can do it. I would not be shocked at all if next year we're like, man, Vando looks great. If he's back on the team, of course. And he can be that on-ball guy. The thing is Redick actually going to utilize that? Or is he going to say, we're switching everything, so Vando, I don't know. You're on whoever you're on.
Not just that, Vando also falls so far below the line of like offensive baseline you need to be as a player, right? He shot 20% in the paint that I looked at the other day, on shots outside the restricted area, 60% on layups and dunks, which is like, that's just not a sustainable number to me.
Yeah.
He also looks absolutely terrified anytime to shoot in the paint. And when he catches it, those are things that just have to be resolved before he plays. And then I thought he just came in and really took I'm the enforcer role way too much to heart. Like you're not Trey Jameson. Like you've earned you have a good NBA contract. Like you can come in and play basketball. But if you remove Vando, there's just not an on-ball defender that really have. And Austin was the guy that like Anthony Edwards picked on him. He also picked on Luka. He also picked on Rui. There's a bunch of guys that he picked on. But there's Austin, Luka both have to be covered for, which makes team building tough. But yeah, that's what I saw from him. And I think you can do it. I think there's ways to like build a team that makes a lot of sense. But that's what I saw from Austin's defense throughout the season.
All right, Anthony. Now it's your turn. What did you see? What parts did you like? What parts were you like, man? Like I don't know about this, or what worries you about 82 games of LeBron, Luka, and Austin on defense?
Well, regular season, I think you can survive this kind of triumvirate with various schematic, type situations. So I'm not exactly worried about it because it's a night to night thing. Teams aren't always as locked in as they're going to be over a 7-game series and things of that nature. What I liked from Austin, well, I'll talk about the dislike first. The dislike is the same as it's always been, and it's just that he's simply not athletic or physically gifted enough to kind of take on some of the matchups that we would need him to take on in certain respects. And it's like a thing where he's competing, he plays hard all the time, so that's never a question. It's more so like his contests don't really do anything. Like he doesn't seem to have a lot of disruptive like length and strength on that end of the floor, and that's just going to be what it is for the duration of it. In terms of things that I did like, even though I said he doesn't have a lot of like physical stuff, like when the Lakers like really committed to like that switching type situation, he was one of the main guys I saw like making sure that guys had to earn switches. Like he was being really aggressive at the point of contact where guys were trying to pass him off. He like, nah, I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna wall you off until like you decide that this is not a good idea. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get the switch that you're trying to get. So I appreciated what he did in that aspect. Like I said, he plays hard all the time. I do think that he can be a better like off-ball communicator. Like the guy
Mm.
we had that did that a lot was D'Lo when he was on the team. You could hear him like yelling a lot out there. Like
Hello.
I think that's the thing he could come into as he becomes more of an on-ball player, like being able to read coverages and things like that. I mean, read offensive sets and things of that nature more often, being able to dictate and determine which sets and which things that people are running before they actually run them. Like if he becomes in tune that way, I think he'll be valuable as an off-ball defender because he has all the capability and the smarts to kind of be that kind of guy. I'm not saying he's going to be like a guy that's the low man rotating over and doing contests consistently, even though he does some of that as well. But I appreciated his fight. I just think that if he wants to be a better defender, he's going to have to be more focal as a thinker on that end of the floor. Not to say that he doesn't, but he has to take a step in terms of being a communicator for me.
Yeah, I think that. Go ahead, Rush. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I just appreciate he's willing to like take any elbow to the face to like get a charge. Like
Oh yeah, he was taking a lot of charges.
I do appreciate that. Like he'll mix it up in the paint. You know what I mean? Like that's something that I really appreciate. Like even though he's overmatched, he will box out. He will like get the contact to the face if whatever he has to do. And he gets hit in the face a lot. Like he will, and his face gets red, and he'll stay down. But I do appreciate that. That's the part that Amp was talking about. The playing hard. I never have to question the effort, like or
No.
the competitive spirit, right? That stuff I never question. Obviously, the athletic stuff is all there. The ability, like you said, to read coverages and all that stuff to read to kind of yell it out to his teammates. But yeah, the effort, the competitive spirit, the like I'm gonna earn, I'm gonna get us this extra possession by drawing this offensive foul or this loose ball foul or whatever it is. That's something that I think is an advantage as a defensive player that a lot of like offensive only guys don't do in the league. So that's to me something I do appreciate as well.
I think one thing about Austin, I forgot when or who asked the question. It was after practice, talking with Austin. He was talking with the media, and then someone mentioned that like, how do you always keep that level up, and how do you always go all out for all games? And he basically, it was kind of funny, but he's like, I have to. He's like, I'm not good enough to like hold back or pace myself. He's like, if I don't go all out, I'm gonna get killed out there. Like it's just there's no like I have to be at that level or else my drop off would be just way too big. He's like, I don't know if LeBron is like pushing dials. He's like, I don't have no dials. I gotta go all out or else there's problems. And I don't know how much of that is actually true, but I do appreciate. I think we all see it. And great point about the Chargers and those kind of things from both of you. I feel like last year he was drinking the Kool-Aid on he was Austin Reaves, and he's like, oh, I don't gotta do charges anymore. I don't have to dive for loose balls anymore. I'm the bucket getter. And then when he struggled, he never really got back to that level. This year, he was doing all those little things again, just like he was when he was like hungry to prove that he should be, in the rotation and not just sitting on the bench. You saw that. And, I think coming in the contract year, we'll get to that later. I think we'll see more of that because he knows, hey, it's big money time. You got to step up. So I really like that about him. And I'll say this, overall throughout the season, he from the week 3 we have on defense with LeBron, Luka, and Austin, he's probably the best one on a night-to-night basis. And when LeBron wants to, he's the best one. But Luka's definitely a distant third. But Austin can be number 1 on a night-to-night and at worst number 2. And like you said, the same thing I talk about with other teams. If you try to get too greedy and try to pick on him, he's not going to just bow out and just be like, oh, okay, you're going to cook me. He's trying. He's fighting. He went after KD, even though KD was talking smack. Like, you're going to guard me? He's like, I mean, what can I do? But I'm doing my best. Like, I'm giving my effort. I'm trying to give him problems. I'm not giving him problems because he's Kevin Durant. He's 7'1" and he's open anytime he gets the ball up. But, I'm fighting over screens. I'm trying to deny him the ball. Like, I'm doing what I can. And again, we appreciate that effort. He's going to have to try to step up in the little ways that he can. I think one thing fans kind of don't, because they don't think about defense so much. They just think about buckets and all that. But like one of the things that I forgot who told me, but one person said one of the hardest things about getting better at defense is you can't train for it the same way you can for offense. If you want to work on your 3-point shot, it's actually kind of easy. Go just shoot 1,000 threes. And then, you get your routine on the spots and how you want to do it. But it's very easy. Get in the gym and shoot threes. How do you get in the gym and prepare for NBA level pick and roll actions on defense? Like those kind of things are harder to replicate because you need players who can actually simulate that at that level, at that consistency, at that speed. It's a little bit harder to kind of get better at because of that reason. And again, then there's the physical attributes and all that stuff. It's not like he has, the Pacers to ask, hey, come to the gym and just like try to pick on me. Like, it doesn't work that way. It's a harder thing to work on versus offense. So that's another challenge. Even though it's a big deal, it's half of the game is defense. So like you have to know how to stop people. Overall, as a team, they did a pretty good job in the regular season, but I just hope to see little things. Let's see little improvements. I'm not expecting them to ever be a bucket, but just get picked on less. Make them pay when they try to pick on you. Go take those charges. Get the occasional steal. Let them know you're gonna be there and you're gonna give an effort, and them to know, hey, if you're gonna cook me, that's fine, but I'm gonna make you work for the ball. I'm gonna make you work for those baskets. I'm gonna be getting physical. Challenge the refs to call plays. Just do the best you can. That's it. I know you're not gonna be a lockdown defender. Just be as annoying as possible to discourage them picking on you, and just let them kind of flow in the offense. And we don't have to worry about, we got to bench you. You're a liability. They're torching you. Someone else got to be there.
Something I was thinking about too is he's played his whole career before February, with Anthony Davis behind him, basically, right? That's kind of like it's been AD as the defensive rim protector. And so going from that to Jackson Hayes, which did work, I think, for a stretch, in March, whatever you want to call March basketball, there was like a stretch where the Lakers had a really good, defense that was working, but that's just
crazy.
Yeah, right. Jackson Hayes lost the most money this summer. Like,
absolutely.
Out of any center out there.
You know it too. That report came, was like, yeah, he lost. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I think he lost.
He probably had a little 6 or 7 situation brewing. He might get 3. Like,
if the Lakers missed the playoffs, like he might have just got paid. I mean, if the playoffs did not exist.
I talk about this all the time with several players. I'm like, you just went one round too far. That's
right.
All that happens.
The basketball got too serious. But no, so I think that's an interesting kind of adjustment as well to now not only a new coach that has a bunch of switching involved, but also the defensive anchor is just gone, right? That you can kind of rely on as well. So that's another thing I think Austin will have to adjust to next season.
Luka was playing like he missed AD out there. It's like, brother, you wasn't even on the team. What you doing?
Hey man, yeah, Derek Lively and
you're like, Derek back there somewhere, big dog. You don't even worry about it.
He wasn't part of the trade.
All right, y'all. All right, here we go. It's been a nice time with Austin right now, but it's time for what I like to call the uncomfortable truths segment. Here we go with some stats. Austin Reaves, game 1, 5 for 13, 16 points, minus 25. Closeout game, he went 2 for 10 from 3, minus 9. Game 2, which they won, he went 0 for 6 from 3. He never shot more than 8 free throws. I think it's clear that regardless of how you feel, even if you're a big lover of Austin Reaves and you think he's going to get a statue, this is the games from this playoff series will not be part of his highlight reel when his jersey gets hanging in the banners of crypto, right? They're going to burn the tape, He was bad. He hurt. And what made it hurt more is because of what we talked about. You're relying on him on ball. He's a big part of the team. He's one of the shot creators. He's one of the, offensive generators. He's a 20-point player. But during this playoff series, he only gave you 20 points once, and it was 20 on the dot in a loss. So I'll start with you, Raj, because you have the article about what you saw from the playoffs without going into all those points, because, they can read that. Just in general, what did you see from Austin Reaves in those 5 games against Minnesota?
Yeah, so I think the shooting, team players are going to go through rough shooting stretches for games. To me, that wasn't the concern. To me, more it's the dealing with the ball pressure that Minnesota was able to put. Minnesota, obviously, they're one of the few teams that I think they can switch every single ball screen that we were kind of discussing. And I thought that combined with us not having any big men, having zero, the big man we think about in terms of obviously defensive rebounding, but I think from an offensive perspective as well. To me, it removes the rim, it removes any rim threat, lob threat, right? So you take that away. To me, it kind of really shrinks the floor for a player like Reaves. And a lot of his baskets, I went back and watched pretty much all of his attempts, in the playoffs. And he shot, 61% of his shots were 3-pointers, which is a huge jump from the regular season. He took 1.4 free throws a game, which is down from 5 a game, right? And to me, that's a representation of you took away the mid-range from him because there was not really anywhere for him to operate. And I thought the physicality got to him. We don't know how much the toe injury, impacted that. We'll never really know in terms of how much that, he was dealing with that. But yeah, I thought like Minnesota was over physical, and that's something he already deals with. And you combine that with not really having a screen partner, plus he was cold from the outside. He had a good second half, I think in game 3 or 4. I can't remember which
I think it
game that
was
was.
3, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Game 3, okay, and then I think in game 4 he had a few like clutch threes as well
He did.
that almost kind of put him away. But to like the point of this is that he was really kind of just the 3-point shooter. He was his only option there because he couldn't attack his defender, and McDaniels, Edwards, and Nikhil all really had him in hell that series. And so I think that's something he's gonna have to learn from as well to kind of deal with that type of pressure. But also I hope the Lakers kind of help that out by offering a couple more bigs that are playable, and having more than 6 guys to play. Those dudes were all playing 42, 43 minutes as well throughout the series. So it was a bad series for him though. There's no getting around that.
Yeah, and speaking to that, you mentioned that 60%. There wasn't. I'm looking. There's only the only game where he made more 2-pointers than 3-pointers was game 2, which they won, but he was really bad from 3. He was 0 for 6. But everything else, he made in game 1, he made 3 threes, 2 twos. In game 3, he made 5 threes, 2 twos. In game 4, he made 5 threes, 1 2-pointer. And then in game 5, he struggled as well, 2 for 10 from the field. So it's a horrible cocktail when you're taking more threes and you're missing more of them. And like you said, why couldn't he get to the paint? Because they were too physical. He couldn't get to the rim. Guess what that takes away? That 13 for 13 against the Pacers in the regular season, he's not getting those attempts. He got, 5 attempts, 3 attempts. Game 4 and 5, he shot 0 free throws. And you're only going to get free throw calls, typically, unless, you kept someone in the air. You're only getting those when you drive to the rim. If that's closed off, now we're just a jump shooting team. And that's not our strength. We don't have a bunch of killer shooters out there who are shooting at 40% clips that we're like, oh, that's great. We'll get into 3-point shooting contest. If the Lakers get a 3-point shooting contest with most of the NBA, they're going to lose those games. And that's just not their strength. So great points there, Raj. All right, Anthony, before I go off, tell me what you felt about Austin Reaves' playoffs, 5 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves here.
Well, we like to, present a front of strength and things of that nature. And when we talk about the basketball team, try to be positive and stuff like that. But I envisioned the series kind of playing out the way it did just because of what I know of him as a basketball player and the things that he struggled specifically with. I think this was the worst possible matchup, probably outside of an OKC situation in which he would have to deal with as a primary ball handler. Because like I said, I still think he struggles tremendously with actual really good defenders who can get active with their hands. I think he still has a problem with that. I think people kind of had an assumption, like people labeled him as a playoff riser. And I've seen him over the course of the 3 years that we've been in the playoffs. I wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, he just rises to the occasion every morning. People tend to forget the Western Conference Finals run between like game 6 of Memphis and like game 3 of Golden State. Like that brother was nowhere to be found. Last year, well, he had some but you know what I'm saying? Like I did this thing where like people were killing D'Lo so much for that series. I went and looked at all the numbers just to see if I was tripping. And like him and D'Lo basically had like similar numbers, like in terms of field goals made, turnovers, assists, all that stuff. So like I'm like, y'all getting riser out of this, but he just played better later. Then last year, like he didn't show up to like game 3. Like so he's had moments where he just kind of fades into the background, and it's compounded with the fact that he's higher up on the scouting report now. I don't think he was a guy that they scouted for as intensely. He didn't get the premier defensive matchups in these moments. Not to say that he's going to do this in the future or anything like that, but I think it was just a whole storm of things that kind of contributed to what we saw on the floor out there. But I think that in terms of him actually being a successful postseason player, this is going to happen to anybody that's not a star player at some point. I talked about this before. People like to throw out the 16-game player monikers and things like that. If you're not a superstar, the fact that your role is going to be dependent on what the matchups are and what the game plan is from game to game is going to dictate a lot of the stuff that happens. And the only thing that you can really do about it is like make the most of your opportunities, even though they're probably not going to be the same as they were in the regular season. I think he had a little more leeway this year because of the construction of our roster. But the fact that he struggled doesn't give me pause. It's something that I expect from pretty much everybody at some point. The sample size is too small for me to make any sweeping generalizations about what he did out there on the floor. He was not good in the playoffs. I think he struggled the last 2 postseasons with his 3-pointer. I think he shot like 27% from 3 last year in the postseason. So that's
Yeah.
something that we have to probably analyze a little bit. But I think the other parts of his game, getting downhill, if we're able to scheme him into situations where he's going to be able to get downhill, and Rudy Gobert's not back there waiting, I think he was really afraid of Rudy in that series in terms of just like, I don't know if he didn't want to get a shot block or what the case was, but like even I think it might have been game 1. He had like several good looks at the rim that he just missed. And it wasn't because of anything the defense was doing necessarily. He just kind of rushing things at the front of the rim and stuff like that. So overall, the process that we had just as a team unit didn't do him any favors because we didn't have guys to take advantage of what they were throwing at us defensively. I think the lack of a big really hurt him, just in the fact that he couldn't get as free on screens off of those guys as we would need him to get downhill and do the things that he normally does. And then his 3-ball, he just got cold. Like, and those things happen over the course of the playoffs, but some people get longer playoff runs to kind of overcome these things. Fred VanVleet still eating off the 2017 or whatever it was. And he was like, I think he was like the worst by percentage shooter, like the first like 8 games of that playoffs. But the narratives are going to be what they're going to be depending on how you finish the season. But I think that he played below his standards and below the standards that people set for him, but I don't think it was out of the realm of possibility that this happened to him. So hopefully he can take it on the chin, get back in the lab. Hopefully we get a good structure around him, some good players to actually complement what he does, and we'll attack it next year.
Yeah, and I want to just point out a couple of those again, not to bash on them, but to kind of remember, because I think you're right. I think the narrative before this playoff run was, oh, Austin, he always remember when he grew up in front of our very eyes in front of Memphis, and he always he's not afraid, like he's a go-getter.
First impression was incredible,
right? He hit that 75-foot shot against the Warriors in the halftime, right before halftime. He's such a killer, right? And yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's great. He had that great Christmas game against the Warriors this year, right? But you start to look at it with, rose-tinted glasses. You forget some stuff. So let me put up some stats here of some games in the playoffs where, less than ideal. Game 2 against the Warriors, 7 points, 3 for 11 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3. The next game against the Warriors.
Final season.
Western Conference final season, exactly. The next game, game 3, 10 points, 2 for 8 from the field, 1 from 4 from 3, 1 for 4 from the free throw.
They were like, I forgot. They were like, oh, he's tired. Like he got bad legs. Like if y'all remember during that run, they were like, Austin looks tired. Like he's really tired. Like he was getting a lot of country, which I'm not mad at it, but like the signs were there. You know what I mean? Like
even last year, he played for game 2 against the Nuggets, which we lost, of course. He played 33 minutes, 9 points, 4 for 11 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3. Game 1, 13 points, 5 for 9 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, only shot 1 free throw. So the free throw attempt has also gone down. In fact, I'm looking over here. Let me see. Is there any? He has, what the most free throws he ever shot in a playoff game is? I'll let y'all guess. I think Anthony looked that up. He actually hit it. He got it. It's 8. 8's the most.
8? Wow.
8's the most. And he's got 8 2 times. After that, it's 7, 6, a lot of 4s, a lot of 3s, and a handful of 1s and 0s. So think about that. That's the most he's ever gotten. We all know that the whistle's different in the playoffs, but the whistle being different and then you're not getting in the paint, that's a bad combination for a player like Austin.
Baby, let's get it.
Yeah. So these are things to work on in the postseason, and these are things to kind of keep in mind as we go forward. So now that we're kind of getting there, now that we're getting into those moments, and again, I know Purple Gold Mines is in here like, oh, he's chasing Curry. Well, here's the problem with people say that, right? They're like,
he was chasing Clay first, and then we was like, we gotta kind of get him off Clay a little bit.
We have to remember what the goal is, right? The goal for the Lakers is to win a title. Guess what? To win a title, AR's going to have to get over McDaniels. He's going to have to get over on Caruso. He's going to have to be able to dominate those guards and wing. Guess what? If you want to win a title, I have a bad news for you. All the teams that are at the end have size and length on the perimeter. Yep. So you're going to have to get over this, or else we're just not going to make it. We're going to play until those teams come up, and those teams are going to come. So the bad news for the Lakers is, guess what? Size and versatility on the perimeter is something every team that's still playing has. So you're going to have to figure it out, whether that's bringing help to complement the things that he's weak at, whether that's him growing, whether that's him just getting in a hot streak one year and just like the threes are hitting and whatever. That's going to be a thing. Because guess what? Curry's not going anywhere. SGA is not going anywhere. Jaylen Brown's not going anywhere. Tyrese Halliburton's not going anywhere. So, we got to, well, maybe Jaylen Brown's going somewhere, but, he'll still be in the NBA.
Are we sure?
so these are, you have to exercise these demons. These are things to work on. So again, he's a young player. His probably his prime's nowhere near here yet, but it's things to think about. Go ahead, Roger.
I was gonna say, I think it's easier to look in rose-colored glasses when he's making the amount he is, right? I think it's very easy. Like any bad game is very easy to be like, well, I mean, if you like, he's outkicked his contract.
Hold on, today is his birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday!
It is
yeah,
birthday, yes. Happy birthday!
I'm like, how old is Austin? Let me make sure he's still 26. I'm like, May 29th. I'm like, hold on.
Yeah. No, today is his birthday. Happy birthday, Austin Reaves. But yes. But yeah, that's kind of, I think, why when you guys were going through the bad playoff games, the game ones against Denver, whatever it is, it's much easier to look at the player that's making whatever deal was making at the time, right? I think 18 or 20, and be like, hey,
the Western Conference Finals year, I think he might have been making 30 back then, and then he made it.
Yes, he got a little bit of a haircut after that, but yeah, so it's very it's easier to kind of look at that player and go, hey, like, what are you doing? And Austin's much easier to kind of just look at the good games as well. And number two, I think you guys hit on it, I think, perfectly. I think to me, the 5-out stuff like hurt him because the gaps between, the driving gaps between those are much different, right? Yeah. Between the 4-out and 1 in versus a 5-out, it's much more isolations, and the help is kind of closer to you as well. And against the pressure against Minnesota, I thought he struggled against that. But yeah, I think that's why, like, because I don't remember that either. I thought he was pretty consistent, at least I remember in the Warriors series, he missed, he was pretty bad for 3 of those games. I do remember that. The Denver series, it's Denver. It's just those series have basically combined together to me. That was, 8 or 9 games of hell, and I don't remember anything from it. So like those have kind of passed by me. But yeah, I think and that's what makes it interesting about next season, right? This season he's still on a pretty favorable deal. It's the deal after that. Edwin, you were talking about his quote of I have to go hard all the time, or
he has to go at that level because he can't he can't go down a gear. That's not possible.
That might be a little different when you're making 30 million a night versus you're making the 12-13, right? That might change your approach a little bit as well.
You saw him change his approach when he started drinking the Kool-Aid, that he was that guy. And he, like I said, he stopped hustling a little bit during the last Darvin Ham year, and he brought that back. All right, so let's talk about the contract now before we kind of move on. So I want to get to a little bit more of Austin, and then we'll move on to Goodwin. So it's the big money question, right? Obviously, I'm going to assume the Lakers are going to offer him the extension. He's going to decline it because it's nowhere near fair market value for him. I think we can agree he's better than a $19 million player. So let's assume he declines it, not in a bad way, but just like, hey, I know you can't give me what I can get, so like you can maybe offer it 2 summers from now. Okay. Raj, without knowing the context, because we're a long way away from what the roster looks like and all that.
Yeah.
How comfortable do you feel about having him going to a contract year, knowing he can walk away and you leave him with, and he can leave you with nothing? How comfortable are you with rolling the dice and not trading him? Like, what's your comfort level with that scenario where you might lose your homegrown guy for nothing?
I feel pretty comfortable. I think that's the whole point of having a guy in-house, right? You hope that you two have enough conversation or understanding between you, the player, and the agent of where both parties sit at, right? And Austin obviously has been here, 4 or 5 years now by that time.
Yeah,
5 by then. I think the range I think they can meet where they need to me, at the 30 million range probably sounds right. I know that's a jump scare for a lot of people, but that to me is kind of the number. That's kind of what guards like this go for. If you go look at the contracts, Emmanuel Quickly makes around that range. Desmond Bane makes a lot more than that. Tyler Hero makes more than that. Like, that's kind of the range of these type of guards to me. You can question whether he's better or worse than those type of players, but yeah, I'm pretty confident that he's not touching the 40 million range, and I think that's where, and who knows, some team can throw him that, but the Lakers obviously have bird rights and all that stuff, so if they need to match or do things of that nature, so I feel pretty comfortable, and I highly doubt he takes that extension this summer, right?
Yeah, me too.
The 490's not, there's no pen to paper there coming. Yeah. So you have to wait till next season.
All right, Anthony, how do you feel about risking it and saying, hey, you might have a crazy year. They offer you a big number, or you walk away and I don't get anything for you. I'm not going to trade you. How comfortable are you with just kind of going into a year like that without the guarantee that he'll be back?
Right. So I think the thought of him like doing that this season is like not less than zero. Like I was surprised at the contract he took, the last one, the 450. I didn't think he was going to take that. I'm like, he should have more suitors than this and should be able to get a little bit, but he didn't. So he's kind of already hometown discounting for us. My thing is like, I think Raj said like if it gets close to 40, then like it's more
Different
problem,
conversation.
more troublesome. But like $30 million or like $32 million is like the new like 23 to 25,
Right.
and I think he's absolutely a player in that range. And people like to talk about contracts and like whether or not it makes guys untradeable and stuff like that. I haven't seen a contract yet that hasn't been able to be traded at
Yeah.
some point during the course of his lifetime. Westbrook got traded what, twice? Like
Yeah.
Mozgov got traded. Like
Basically,
all of
Chris
these
Paul
people.
was impossible. I saw him traded all the time. Yeah.
Right. So like I'm not particularly worried about the financials of it, whether or not you want to go into the future. The main thing that makes this a conversation that we really need to have is the fact that LeBron James is 8,000 years old. If LeBron James wasn't 8,000 years old, there'd be a discussion about whether or not you want to get this guy whatever he can get or whatever. But I don't like talking about players as assets like that. But if he
Yeah.
makes a certain amount of money, he's going to be able to be aggregated into more
Right.
deals for better players and things of that nature. If it doesn't work out, not to say that it won't, but I think he'll be worth anywhere from like under 35 would be pretty much like the going rate for somebody of
Comfortable.
his caliber. Um, and I don't have a problem with paying that to him at some point down the line. I do wonder about him aging as a basketball player because he has to play so hard already, and he has to rely on just his physical gifts that he has and maximizing them at 100%. That he might start to taper off. He's 27 years old. Like who knows what his age 29 season looks like? Some guys get better, some guys kind of wear down at a certain point in their careers. That's something that you would have to worry about. But in terms of the guy he is now, the production he's given us now, and what we're projecting out for the next couple years, I don't have a problem when it comes to giving him mid 30s or a little bit less. You know what I mean? Like I'm fine with all of that. I just think that we're gonna have to. I don't think he can probably be the 2A on a like contender. So that's a discussion that we're gonna have to have. But like I said, LeBron's gonna be somewhere at some point, and then we can cross that bridge when we get to it. But in
He
the
has
interim,
to retire, right? Like
that's what I'm saying. Who
he has to.
knows?
He has
But-
to at some point. Like it's got to happen, right? And I put an article here about the report that Austin Reaves will be seeking a salary over 30 million annually in the contract. In the article, I actually mentioned what George Santiago says. He says, quote, 30 mil is less than 20% of the cap by 2026. When you think about the percentage more than the raw numbers, I didn't go into the exact numbers because yeah, I didn't go into the exact numbers because literally we don't know. Like the cap will increase this year and the cap will increase next year with the new media rights deals and all that. That might be an even bigger number. So he's right. 30 million today is not going to be what 30 million is when he signs it. It'll likely feel like less because of what that percentage of the cap's going to be. It's probably going to be a lot smaller. So again, that 30 million number, 30 is a new 20, right? Like it's not going to be, you're going to see a lot more of those numbers. You're going to start being like, oh my goodness, like why is this player getting 47 a year? You're just going to have to, it's going to be a new normal that you're going to have to get used to. So is Austin a $30 million player, flaws and all? Yes. Because you're going to see what a 40, 50, $60 million player is going to be. And that's going to be a different level there. 10% increase per year cap is the maximum it can increase unless we top up. Yeah, again, I won't get into all that because there's collective bargaining and all this other stuff. And again, the new media rights deal is going to make things different with revenue share. So the point is it's going to go up. So it'll feel like less bad. This 30 million won't feel like it will feel this year compared to what it'll be in a couple seasons. So there we go. I think that's it for Austin Reaves. I want to get one more last kind of go round. So we'll start with Raj. What was your favorite Austin Reaves moment this year? Memory, however you want to talk. I mean, maybe he yelled at you after you asked a question. I don't know. What's your favorite Austin Reaves memory from this season?
Oh, favorite Austin Reaves memory. I'm trying to think. It's got to be. Well, I really love that Indiana game. That was really fun, and I think though my favorite was the game winner on Christmas like that. I
Mm,
really enjoyed that game.
that game was so much fun.
I was on, vacation. I was watching it next to like a Warriors fan dad and his kid. And so they were, it was just like us two in front of the TVs because no one else there
Nice.
cared. It was in San Diego. And he was telling the kid, like, that's terrible defense. I was like, that was kind of a good offensive play. He's like, no, you nerd. I was like, so it was just, that moment was really cool. I think it was on Wiggins. Do I have that right? It was on
I
Wiggins,
believe
I
so.
think.
Yes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was on Wiggins. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd probably say that the Indiana game and then the layup game winner on Christmas against the Warriors.
All right. Same question for you, Anthony. What was your favorite Austin Reaves moment?
All right, so we're getting all of the, the main games that we saw out the way. This game actually kind of ended in heartbreak for us. I don't know if we remember, but there's a specific reason why this is probably my favorite Austin Reaves moment. Let me pull this up.
Oh, you got it. Okay. Go for
Our
it.
good brother Edwin here.
Oh, my goodness.
One of the calls of the season right here.
Go ahead. I'll be quiet. Go ahead.
Austin ankle was a little tender. You know what I'm saying? Just to set the backdrop of what we about to see here. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to just hit play and let y'all see what's going on.
Austin with the ball. Austin one-on-one with Vooch. He's got the mismatch. Austin drives. Austin banks it in. Bum ankle and all. He said my ankle might be a bum, but the defender's a bigger bum.
So that was my favorite moment right there. Let me turn that off. Just another example of him rising to the moment, hitting big shots, and that could have potentially led to wins. Unfortunately, it didn't because of the miracle shot that they hit.
Oh, yeah.
But, I just found great joy in watching that in real time. It was a very hilarious thing to watch, and it was a great bit of basketball. So that's my favorite moment of the season.
He had another game winner right there too, right? I mean, I think they scored, and then he had
it was gonna be.
Then he had another clutch layup there. He had a second game winner taken from him. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bummer with that. Obviously, that Bulls game was just like awful. And again, a precursor to things they need to work on, like lack of the late game execution was just the problem with the Lakers all year long, even down to the Minnesota series. We saw just like turnovers and fouls and struggle inbounding the ball, like just simple stuff that you would think, come on, 90 something games into the season, we're still talking about like, wait, who's inbounding the ball? Like, who's going to, how are we getting it in? Like, but yeah, for me, I'm gonna go off the kind of record. For me with my Austin, I think one thing people like about Austin is he kind of feels like a normal guy, right? Like he doesn't take himself too serious. He's a goofy guy. He's got a bad haircut. He's wearing bandanas. And like he's just like a chill dude. He's like that meme, right? He's just that chill dude. But then he's a killer on the court. And I remember after one of the practices, he mentioned, when he put the bandana on, they're like, "Oh, what's with the bandana?" And he's like, "Man, I'm just trying to make people laugh." And we're just kind of rough times during the season. I just think it'd be kind of fun to just do something that's gonna make people laugh. And I just like that he still kind of has that kind of like childlike joy. And I remember, I won't say who, but I talked to somebody kind of in the Lakers organization, and when a couple years ago actually, and they were like, "Oh, we love Austin, blah blah blah," and they're like, "I just hope he doesn't let like the NBA life kind of like take him down the wrong path, and he starts to become like just like get him
Taylor
into
Swift rumors had him nervous.
Yeah. The bad characteristics that can happen. The kind of trouble that can happen. You're in LA. You can start partying. You can start getting full of yourself. You can start being a jerk. And overall, consistently, he's kind of kept true to himself. He hasn't really lost himself. And I think that's one of the reasons fans love him. He's just like a nice, fun guy who he takes himself seriously. He's not a clown or anything, but he's just those kind of moments he still has, and he still gets excited, and he's up there jumping with LeBron and celebrating that they're out of the play-in and like stuff like that. Like it's just those great moments from him, beyond just the actual basketball, that makes you kind of fall in love with these guys, because you're like, yeah, I'm rooting for that guy, the guy who puts the bandana on and he's jumping up and down and celebrating, and he's also hitting these clutch shots. Like, heck yeah, like let's see this guy rock it and help us win a title. So that's what we all want, and it was a great moment. Yeah, didn't we lose on a buzzer? Yes, that's the one we're talking about. Yeah, that's
why I said we lost, but it still was a great moment.
Yeah, that game was great until the final like 3 seconds,
right?
And then it was pain. So all right, we're moving on there from Austin Reaves. We're jumping now. Maybe we'll do like 15-30 minutes. We'll see on Jordan Goodwin, who's a player I don't think any of us knew like halfway through the season. I don't think I knew
I
the
knew
name
who he
Jordan Goodwin. You
was,
knew who he
but
was? Okay, there
I
you
didn't
go.
know he was in our farm system until like 3 weeks after it happened.
Yeah. I think this is one of the great things. Again, people think so much about, and we just did it right now, right? We spent like an hour talking about this big, important player, which we should have. It was the right thing to do. But to win a title and win as many games in regular season, you have to kind of hit everywhere. Your stars have to be your stars. Your rotation's got to be set, and you got to find players in the G League, two-way guys, people to fill in holes and gaps throughout a long season so you can kind of maximize your victories. And Jordan Goodwin is like a prime example of that. He's not a superstar. He's not a starter. He's not putting up, 25 points and hitting 8 threes. But what does he do? He does the dirty work. He's really good on defense. And he was able to give you quality backup defensive minutes for a team that struggles defensively. You're like, I can trust him. He's not going to be dumb. He's going to be above replacement level, and he's going to give me a little bit of an edge defensively. And I need that on a back-to-back on a Tuesday in February when players are drained and some guys are out. He's going to hustle out there, and he's going to give me something, right? Early in the season, we saw Cam Reddish out there. Why? He was giving you something, right? We saw players, they come and go, they shift. So we'll start with Raj. Raj, overall, what did you know anything about Jordan Goodwin before he signed on? And what did you see from him once, like, you might have even saw him a little bit, in South Bay and stuff like
Yeah,
that. What
yeah. So
tell us about that?
yeah, it was cool. So that's what's cool about, doing the South Bay beat. All of them have to come to me first. I get to, kind of, open them in and stuff like that. And whenever vets come in, because I consider him a vet, been in the league, right, has played
Yeah.
actual NBA minutes. I always ask, like, what are you trying to show here, right? What are you trying to? He's like, just shooting. Like, he's like, I have everything else. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, he's like, yeah, I have everything else down, just shooting. And I think he was kind of right, really, because like you watch him play, I think he's a like really talented on ball and just defensive guard, and that's really why he played. I think he has really good hands on the defensive end. He's really tough. He's competitive as hell. He's a good rebounder as well for his position. And like he surpassed Dalton in the rotation. Some of that was the trade situation that happened with Dalton, but also I think Goodwin was seen as a guy that JJ can really trust until game 4 or whatever it was, where JJ decided not to trust anyone. But I thought Goodwin really earned that role. And Edwin, you said he's not a starter. He started like a good amount of games. I mean, when Austin was out, I believe, and when Luka was out, Goodwin was the starting shooting guard. And we had our big road win in Denver. Goodwin was a big part of that. Like, he was a huge kind of part of our rotation. I remember hit I think like two or two like big threes in the fourth quarter to really put that game away in the fourth. So that's kind of what I didn't really know much about him before he got to South
Yeah.
Bay, but when I watched him play in the G League, he was a guy that like it was cool to see stuff translate. Like, sometimes stuff in the G League doesn't really go to the next level, but he had this like drive through his legs, step back. I was like, that's something that's not going to the league. And then I watched him freaking pull it out, like I think against Indiana, by the way. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like a move that he actually like that, like you wouldn't think Jordan Goodwin would have. He kind of pulled it out against Indiana. So yeah, I'm glad he's in our farm system. He's a guy that I think can be a part of next season's, maybe not full rotation, but I'd love to have him just on the roster again as a minimum contract player, or on a two-way, whatever it will be. So I'm happy for him. I thought he was like a really big spark. He played freaking playoff minutes. Like,
Yeah.
forget just regular season. That dude was in the playoff rotation for a good. He played more playoff minutes than Dalton, our freaking first round pick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Goodwin's a really nice story. The shooting has to become real, and I think he still kind of passes up shots at times. I think he can be a little bit more frisky as like the inverted screens that we were talking about with Austin. But
Yeah.
overall, I thought he fit well and kind of played a really pivotal role as like a D&3 player, and we don't really have so too many of those type of guys.
Yeah, no, thank you for that insight. Yeah, I didn't watch too much of Goodwin in South Bay. A couple clips here, maybe a full game or so. But I'm not on that beat. I'm on that beat sporadically, coming in for like certain players. So it's great to have your insights on like being there the majority of the season and knowing, hey, I saw how he was, from the jump up until getting those postseason actions. Good point too. Yeah, he wasn't a bona fide starter, but he did have games where he started and he played well. Anthony, you've watched all the games as well, especially here on playback on all the road games. What did you see from Goodwin, and did you know anything about him before he kind of came into the Lakers system?
Well, I knew about him just because when we were going down the stretch of the Western Conference Final season, we played the Suns in one of those games, and he was like hitting threes for like the first half, like in an annoying manner. I'm like, this cannot continue, Jordan Goodwin. Like, so that's why I remember him just a little bit. Um, but in terms of what he gave us this season, I call him, you know what I'm saying? I say he is we got Josh Hart at home a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Just kind of similar vibes of a guy being gritty and aggressive on the defensive end, using his hands very well, willing to mix it up in the paint, can be switchy in some respects, even though he's kind of small for like his, you know what I'm saying, what we want him to do out there. But I thought he gave us a lot of good energy, particularly at the point in the season in which we got him. I believe that Indiana game was his first game. If I'm not, I might be tripping on that.
Yeah.
It was somewhere around there.
Yeah, it was.
And he was a guy like, oh, this guy's kind of fresh. You can come in and take some of the load off of the guys that we had that were kind of getting through the season after a whole bunch of roster upheaval and stuff like that. He was just a guy that came in and gave you a consistent level of energy. Had some things that he could do well on the offensive end. I really liked him like in floater range. He had a decent amount of good shots in that area, which is something that we can probably project into future like situations for him. I think his three ball was inconsistent in the way that he shot it. I watched all of his shots like in preparation for the last video. And he doesn't shoot the same way all the time. And I think that's why he's had the inconsistency that he's had. Now, I think he shot like 39% from three or something like that. So there's something there. But I'm not relying on that being like a huge part of his situation for us. But if he does get that going, then like that's a different conversation for us down the road. But I really liked the way he gave us in the time that he was able to like just become part of the team almost immediately. He came out there with that mask on, you know what I'm saying? I said I call him Josh Hart at home. I also call him Batman with the black mask. Hopefully he keeps that on, you know what I'm saying? That a lot. But
Oh yeah, Batman. That's right. Yeah.
like there wasn't a time where he was on the court pretty much for a G League guy where I was like, get this guy off the floor. Like he's being
Yeah.
actively harmful out there.
Mhm.
He knew
Trey
his role.
Jemison. I like how Trey. I like Trey as an enforcer, but there were times where I'm like, we don't need you to elbow somebody right now. Like, you know, like,
Right. But yeah, he knew his role and he played hard within that role. He didn't try to go outside of himself except when we needed it. The Brooklyn game where he hit like 87 threes, like stuff like that. So like I think you need reliably consistent role players like that. Just you know what you're gonna get from them guys. And I think he's one of those guys. Now, if the roster changes, we ask him to do more, maybe he'd get outside of his body. I don't know. But for now, he seems like somebody that knows what is going to keep him into the league and is going to do well to work at those things overall going forward instead of trying to, you know, saying do things that we don't need him to do. And I think that's a really valuable piece to have, particularly at his position for a guy who guards well and rebounds well. We need that. You can never have enough of those guys, and I think
Yeah,
he's a valuable guy in that sense.
he's like the reverse Quincy, right? Like Quincy's problem is, oh, you're a bucket, but can you play defense at the NBA level? And then for Goodwin, it's like, oh, you're a pretty good defensive stopper. Can you score enough to keep you on the court? The problem is that for Goodwin, the answer is yes, and for Quincy, it's like, I don't know, you know. So that's the thing. I highlighted here. Do you think Goodwin's a bit slow on offense? The Jazz game where he was blocked after a Luka outlet. Let me see this last part got cut off for
Something
me.
I can't get out of my mind.
Something I can't get out of my. So yes, I think me and Anthony talked about this. There were some playback streams where he came onto the court, and we're like, you know, the Lakers would be down like 7, and I'm like, the problem with Jordan Goodwin is when you're down 7, the things he does don't help anymore. Because I'm like, man, we're down 7, we need some buckets, and you kind of ain't that guy. You're responsible. You can play good defense, but we're trailing right now. We need someone to help us go on a run, and you're not really go on a run guy. You're fill the minutes up guy. If we're up 5, I like you being on the court. Us down 5, I don't know if you're going to really help us, you know, turn this into a lead, and the plus minus is going to be right. So I agree with that. It's a little slow on offense. I think he's improving, and I think I was impressed with Goodwin. You can't ask more from Goodwin. He wasn't on the roster. He was just jumping around the league. You took a flyer on him on a 2-way. Next thing you know, he's good enough to get trust and play decently in a starting lineup here and there and give you like, you know, 16 minutes kind of consistently. Like, I'm really happy with that. And that's the reason why, although I personally would have loved to have seen them take a flyer on Koloko in the playoffs, is the reason why he was the one who got put on the standard contract. And Quincy got taken off, and he was the one who actually got promoted, got the 4-year, you know, kind of deal. there's a reason for that. The team believed in him, and he outplayed everyone consistently for that role. He fought for it. He got it. He earned it. And, again, I like Koloko, but like, it's a tough decision. And I'm kind of not mad at them saying, hey, yeah, no, we trust Goodwin. We're going to go with Goodwin for those reasons. So I'm excited about that. Anthony, if you want, you can maybe pull up the Nets game or the Jazz game. I put in the Slack there if you can find the Jazz game. Do you got that ready? Just so we can
I told you about Slack, man. Slack ain't.
Okay, go ahead. I'll stall.
I was gonna bring up with well, first of all, both Koloko and Goodwin should have been non-standing contracts like that. They both should have been on the team.
Thank you.
So that should not have been an issue. But with Goodwin, I thought JJ sometimes extended him where like he would play a lot of zombie lineups and play Goodwin in these zombie units. You know what I mean? Like he would just have these. He would have these survival units with maybe LeBron as the only player in there, and just have all these guys in there that really can't create. And Goodwin, it would kind of compound the issues. But when he played with like the starters, and obviously when he played next to Luka, LeBron, and Austin, obviously your job's easier. But that player needs to be aggressive. That player also needs to understand. JJ calls it the blender. I remember writing about this. When it happened, but like he had a really good understanding of, okay, I need to attack my closeout here, or I need to shoot here, or I have a floater open, or I have a mid-range jump shot. Like I need to take that. Those kind of stuff to me, he kind of really got good at understanding where his flow and offense came from. So, I thought his struggles came from really some of these zombie units that, JJ was putting out there that included Goodwin.
I want to piggyback off that before we have Anthony play this Lakers Nets tape. And that's true. Not all minutes are created equal. I think people forget that. It's so much harder when you're like, okay, Goodwin, it's going to be you, Gabe, Dalton, maybe Hayes, and we're playing a good team tonight. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to get killed. And it's like, again, I look worse because, well, no offense to those guys, but, I'm kind of with some backups against a good team, and like we're getting torched, and I'm not, how am I going to look good compared to, okay, it's going to be Goodwin, Austin, Rui, LeBron, Hayes, and then, maybe another backup. It's like, okay, now in this lineup, I can actually kind of show my strength, and I you can trust me. I'll knock down my open three here, and I'm going to be able to play good on-ball defense. Talking about on-ball defense, right? I can be up there, and I'm kind of solid, and now I'm looking way better. I can pass these guys, and it's like that's way different when you're like passing to like a cutting, Rui versus like you got Trey out there and Dalton, and you're like, man, like they're not helping me out here. So that's a good example there of like when he got those opportunities, he did well.
It'd be like Goodwin, Vando, and Jamison, and I'm like, what are we what are we doing? Like those three cannot be on the floor at the same time, And it's just, but those would be like our I don't think goon is the right word anymore, but like those would be like kind of our enforcing like lineups, right? Like
the mob squad,
the mob squad type of lineups that we try to play. It's
like, baby, no, what Brian called a picture?
Yeah, and it's tough. Yeah, exactly. It's tough when all your minutes or a chunk of your minutes are there. It makes you look worse than you are because, like, man, put me around some serious people and watch what I can do. All right, so here we go. This is the Lakers Brooklyn game. The Lakers won this game. It's one of the better. It's one of the better games from Goodwin in terms of like points and production. I think he had like 8 rebounds, 17 points. So kind of a good example of some of the best parts of his game here. Again, just knock down your corner three, man. That's gonna keep you in the league for sure.
He caught fire in this game.
Yeah,
him and Gabe was going crazy. I was like, what's happening? What happened to the first play? Oh, that is the first play.
Yeah, that's the first one. Yeah,
this site running. It's 2 plays in one for some reason. All right, we back on it.
Okay, nice job there. Not fouling, even though he was there, trailing there. Right, he was in jail. He was in jail, but he did a good job. There. Exactly, he was in jail, but he's like, I got it. I'm not gonna foul. Our buddy D'Lo there looking for a call.
Cash money.
Perfect.
Come on, man. This should be automated. It should go every time, baby. They got me working out here. Swing.
Yeah, wide open. Boom. Like you said already, but by now he's catching heat.
Oh, my bad.
There you go.
I'm gonna just leave it like this and see what it does.
And Luka in the paint, he's just one of the best passers in the NBA.
But look at that lineup though. It's like him and Vando out there at like
So we
the
got
Nets-
Luka's the
Luka,
only
Gabe,
serious player.
Jemison, Vando, and
That's what we're talking about, right? Luka's
Yeah.
the only serious guy. And look,
The
Luka
Nets-
finds him, and he's like, "I got you."
And the Nets cooked us. Like they killed us. How many threes did he have this game? Like 5 or 6?
Yeah, he was 5 for 6. Yeah.
no, it was a nasty left-hand situation. But like I said, he also has capability in this little non-restricted paint area. Even though he kind of
Yeah.
stepped out, he
Well, that's
jumped
what
before he got there. But
That's what
he
Raj
showed
is talking
good
about,
touch
right?
in this
He
area.
attacked, right? Yeah, he bid on
Yeah.
the pump fake, and he's like, "Okay, you bid on the pump fake. I gotta show you that I'm a threat." And he cut inside, and like you said, it was an ugly shot, but it went in. So here it is, nice. Another
Big
corner
shot
three.
right there to give us the
Yeah.
lead. Little relocation showing himself.
Great job by Vando on the screen. Check it out. Check it out. Give my guy his flowers. He did a good job.
Little hammer.
Kept him open. Kept him open. Yeah, and here we're at fourth quarter. This was a close game. Unfortunately, it didn't go the Lakers' way here. But again, Goodwin did his job.
Give me that. Close out. Knock away. He didn't really dig down right there. That was I think Jemison dislodged that right there.
Yeah, and then he
just kind of lost it. Dayron was like, that boy too strong. This is the wrong Nuggets game, but that's the end of the
all right.
Brooklyn game.
So here's the thing. Here's my thing about Goodwin though, for both of you. I'm going to ask you this question. So yeah, he's a good player. He's nice. I like a lot of the Laker players, but at the end of the day, we have a lot of things that need to get fixed. Who knows what's going to happen in the trade market? So Raj, without knowing all the past and all the options, how much do you want him to come back versus just trying out other players?
I'd like him back on a minimum. I
Okay.
think the Lakers do this all the time where we always think about, I make this point, but like we think about spending assets in terms of first round picks, second round picks, right? In terms of all that type of stuff. To me, like minutes you give players in the G League, like in your own G League, in your own system, that's spending organizational assets, right? That's using your like to me, this is why I like JHS, who everyone has already quit on for sure. But
hey, me and Jacob are still on the island.
Philly legend, baby. He was cooking in Philly, baby.
Hold on.
Okay then.
But like this is
right here.
This is my issue with like Scottie Pippen Jr. with JHS.
Yeah.
Like we gave those dudes a full year of on ball in the G League. Like here's the ball. Like
J Huff,
go develop, right? J Huff, like go develop, and then we're like, oh no, we're good. Like you know what I mean? And so I feel that way about Goodwin as well. He was a guy the Lakers really gave the ball to. A bunch of he's a really good mid-range scorer for them, a go-to guy late. I know that's not his role in the league, but just in our system of a guy that we like, all right, here's what you need to improve on. We're watching film with you. This is what works for JJ in his system. And I think I think the Lakers are better for it. This was the best G League to NBA kind of transition that the Lakers have had in a very long time, where both organizations are really in sync with each other. And so I would love to kind of build on that. Jordan Goodwin's not going to play Summer League like his buddy Bronny is, but I'd like to see Jordan Goodwin back, at least on a minimum, on some type of camp invite. If you can get him on a two-way, great. I think he's probably earned a real deal somewhere, but I'd like him back on a minimum. Now, if he makes more than minimum somewhere, then like I get it. If you want to invest in extra, whatever it is, if he's earned that in some.
I believe he's got a team. The Lakers have a team option, so they can easily bring him back. It's just again the assets. You only got X amount of spots on the roster, X amount of 2 weeks. But I like what you mentioned, and JJ, to his credit, he really lived up to this. I put in an article that I wrote in the summer because he said he thought that the G League should be a model of integration and they should not work separately. They should kind of work together. And he mentioned, the G League's not a demotion. We're going to run the same system. And obviously it's different because it's NBA versus G League, different level of defense, different level of quality of player, et cetera, et cetera. But we're going to try to run the same stuff and have it be just one thing because we're going to need those players. Those players can come up. Two-way guys, we're literally using them. They play 50 games or suit up for them. So they are literally part of the roster here. And like you said, we saw a good amount of Koloko. We saw a good amount of Trey. They pretty much maximize their time available. Goodwin got promoted. Like those kind of things are important. And when we look around the league, like you said, we see Scottie Pippen was like closing out for the Grizzlies. Now, it didn't go the way they wanted, but he was still on the court, playing playoff minutes as a starter, and that could have been a guy we had, and maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't have. Perhaps we let those players go just a little too early and you already did the hard job of finding them, having
Yes.
them in your camp, and having them at a record low number. It's way easier to have a player and build them and maximize, like the Austin Reeves thing. The reason why you have a player that's overplaying their contract is because they're on a rookie deal and you got them when no one else did. So you're getting the fruits of that labor, and that advantage is going your way because you did the hard job of, hey, you found him, you talked to him, he agreed to join. Okay, let's do it. Same thing. You got Goodwin in your camp. He might be the 3-and-D guard that you need. One of them, right? You can still get other players. You already have them in the camp. So I think it's a great point by you. And, I shared the article there on Reddit kind of talking about it. He backed it up. Got a new coaching staff. And we saw a lot, like you said, we saw a lot more of that. And, you saw it firsthand, covering the Laker games in person, covering the South Bay Laker games in person, and kind of seeing that. Anthony, how do you feel? Goodwin's a good player, but he's not exactly going to be the guy who's going to carry you over the hump in a playoff series and get you banner 18, I don't think. How much do you want to see him back versus maybe trying something else?
Well, if it's just going to be like, if we need a similar type of guy, then like I'd rather have the guy on the roster already. I think if we get to the Jordan Goodwin like portion of the roster and we're having to make a decision about us, I think that means we improved as a team over the summer. So in lieu of us like getting some guys that can kind of fill the role that he does and like have more positional size and stuff like that, I'm perfectly fine with bringing him back. Like I said, every team needs a guy that just knows what to do and knows his role and plays that role to the best of his ability. And I think he did that. Like I said, we had pretty much a seamless fit for him as soon as he got on the court, which is something that doesn't happen often. And he was able to crack the rotation. Like that's important and showing one that JJ kind of trusted him on some level, and bringing a new guy in and kind of rebuild, not rebuild, but build that same kind of trust, had that same kind of cachet with the coaching staff is not something that's guaranteed. So like, I'm not saying he's going to be like playing the same role that he played this year if we get better, but like just having that guy on your roster and knowing that if you need to change some things up, maybe he can come in and do some things for you is extremely valuable. Long as he's not getting like 2 years, 12 million on the open market, something like that. Like I'm fine with bringing him back for, even a little bit of change if it comes to that, like 2.6, 2.8. Like I'm not averse to that either. You know what I mean? So overall, I'd have him on the roster. Moves in the summer notwithstanding. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He played more than, according to his average. He played more than Cam Reddish, more than Vando, more than Milton, more than the other two-way guys. So he was what was he at? He was top 12 in minutes played on the team, and he probably would have been higher had he started the whole year with the Lakers. That's only with a 29 game sample size versus everyone else has significantly more because they were there the whole time. He could have been, it could have been him instead of Cam Reddish in the beginning parts of the season, kind of getting those minutes when the team was struggling to find like a defensive identity and all that. Reddick could have went to him had he had him. So that's probably, he probably would have been a top 10 player in terms of minutes played had he been here for all 82.
I thought he should have played. He got benched with all the other players, but I thought he was a fine rotation. He obviously didn't. I don't think he shot well against the Timberwolves, but I thought he at least played well enough to be on the floor to give one of those guys a break. But Edwin, you mentioned it. Like the hard part is finding these guys. Like once they've proved that they're NBA guys, like keeping them on the team is the easy part. Like that's the thing that I'm gonna use this to vent about Caruso. But like I was, as a fan, I was at a South Bay game watching Caruso play, like at the South Bay game, because Luke Walton had a really weird, like he did not like Alex Caruso's game, but yeah, but Caruso eventually showed, right, that he was well, and we just decided not to pay him. I have no, like GP2 was also in our system, but GP2 was just not good. But he was just not good for us, so I don't watch GP2 with any kind of like, man, he should be on the Lakers.
All we need is the best shooter in the world and the capability to play him at the 5. Like that's all we needed to do for him. We could have did it.
That's true. The Blazers aren't big fans of GP2. I'll say that. But yeah. So yeah, just watching Caruso, and I think Jordan Goodwin's obviously not on Caruso's level, but I think he's at least showed he's an NBA player, and you have a dude like that on cheap, like you should be able to find a way to, like Amp said, keep him on your roster.
All right, I'm going to let Anthony decide because we've done so many season reviews. Anthony, up to you. What player do you want? We got dealer's choice here. The options I gave you, let me pull it up for myself and also for you so you can decide which one.
Can we do a fusion dance? Because like The things that I got to say about Gabe and Vandor are basically the same.
Wait, why don't we
Really?
do? Yeah, we'll do a
Just in
lightning
terms
round.
of like,
Here's what we'll do.
I'm just happy they were healthy for the season and they
Oh,
did what
gotcha.
we relatively
So,
expected them to do. You know what I mean?
We'll do maybe like 10 minutes each, 15 minutes each max, and then we'll get out of here. So, all right. So, which one do you want to start with?
Let's go Vandal so we can get more on that fighting you talking about.
All right, Vando. So Vando. It's important to remember that with Jared Vanderbilt, you might think, oh, he was here the whole season and he, maybe didn't live up to that. I think we can all agree he had a worse year this year than the other seasons he was with the Lakers. I think we can agree on that. He wasn't just he didn't make that impact where you're like, he's the X factor and that kind of thing, right? He played 36 games. He only started 2. And he played 16 minutes. So again, not that many minutes. I think the thing with I think the problems that Raj pointed out earlier about Vando, and we kind of had a little tangent. I think Reddick's probably nodding his head like, yep, exactly. I can't play you if you can't grab the freaking ball in the restricted area and make a basketball move in the paint. Like, I can't play you. You can't do that. You can't hit your threes. You're nothing on offense, and on defense, because of our system, you're just like, okay. And you used to be like a superstar. So I think overall, Vando had a disappointing year. Again, I think the injury is important. He played a fraction of the year, and I'm really excited about what he can do with the full offseason, healthy and able to train versus like, hey, you had 2 secret surgeries we didn't know about. Like, what's going on over there?
What was this? Broke your feet? What?
Yeah.
What?
Rob, then there was like swelling in the knee, all that mess. So overall, real quick, Raj, tell me what you thought about Vando's season, even if you weren't a big fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm also glad he was able to return, right? I think he missed a full season than last year, whatever it was. He played 20 or something games. I thought like there were points of the season where it looked like he was back, you know what I mean? At least condition wise, and he was running around the floor and he was very effective in terms of I think there is a place for an enforcer on a team, and I think there is a place for a guy that comes in that everyone's a little bit on edge when he comes in because he's just, a little bit, he's jumping around everywhere and being overly physical and kind of being super intense. But yeah, I wish there was a little bit more to where he can stay on the floor. I thought he picked up fouls at a really, super high rate. And that's another reason I think he couldn't play. JJ didn't trust him to kind of stay out of foul trouble. Vando checked in with 2 fouls, it felt like, every single time. But yeah, and then again, the stuff at the rim was just because this is just not the player. Everyone says like he was terrible on offense, and like yes, he wasn't a very offensive skilled player. But when we got Vando, it was like this to me. It was like a Swiss Army type knife, kind of a forward that can really fill a lot of different places. All that went out the window. Like what happened to the ball handling, the like little bit of passing that he would kind of flash, the little bit of playmaking that he used to kind of flash as well when he was on the floor, and all that kind of fell out the window, and he became just this kind of running around energy type of player, which is fine. But yeah, I thought we kind of missed, and we missed like he was a guy that was going to be leaned on as a perimeter defender, as one of the guys we throw on the best guys. Like I remember we would be torched by Brandon Ingram every time. Like, oh, we got Vanderbilt to throw on Brandon Ingram, and like we throw him on him and he'd be super successful. So yeah, it was disappointing for him to just not even earn the playoff rotation that I feel like he should have. If he was about the right stuff to me when I was watching him, but he's got like 3 years left. So yeah, it's another Vando season. It feels like coming up
we'll
here.
see. We'll see. There's changes that can happen. This was your inspiration here, Anthony. So tell me, what'd you see from Vando this year overall?
Well, just in terms of him being able to get back on the court, that was the main thing I was concerned with. I think that a lot of his issues are just stemming from the fact that he didn't play basketball for an entire year. When I watched Jared Vanderbilt play, like before he got to the Lakers, and I've said this, I don't remember if I tweeted it or whatever, he's one of the best ball trackers I've ever seen in the game of basketball. Just like finding the ball, getting loose balls, doing all that stuff, extra possessions. He's one of the best people I've ever seen do that. And this year, he wasn't really in that bag as much. You could tell that he had some rust in terms of game speed. That's probably why he was picking up a lot of the fouls that he was picking up. Just in terms of the offensive deficiencies, we know that we're going to have that with him. I think we're not using him correctly in a lot of scenarios. I think he needs to be more in the middle of the floor so you can see some of that ball handling that Raj talked about. Even though he's not a great screener and you don't want him to be finishing too much, but like if you're going to do that, you probably have to have him at the top of the key, being a roller in some capacity instead of having him be a corner shooter and a corner crasher and a dunker spot guy. Because the problem with Vanderbilt is he's not a great 2-foot jumper on offense. So even though his touch is bad, like we put him in a position, like I think part of the problem is like we have guys on our team who just can't grasp the fact that we probably shouldn't pass him the ball in certain scenarios. And LeBron is like
Luka saw it. And there's a couple
LeBron was like
you
the
should've passed
major
me.
like guy.
He's like, never mind.
LeBron is like, here, Vandal, do this, Vandal. I'm like, bro, stop throwing Vandal the ball in the dunker spot. He got heavy. He's a heavy jumper off 2 feet. But even with all of that said, like even when we were in the regular season, like when he came back, I think we were like 14-1 at some point when he came back.
Yeah.
So like he still has tremendous value in like the regular season. If he could stay on the floor, just being an annoying guy on a random Tuesday in March, like and he can get you 8 to 10 extra possessions a game, something like that. If he's right, I don't think he was right for the majority of the season. I think just conditioning wise and timing wise, he wasn't where he was. So this isn't like Vandal that we know. This isn't Vandal. But the playoff things is obviously a real concern. This is even during the Western Conference Finals run, he kind of got phased out of the rotation just because of his offensive deficiencies. I did like that his corner three like looked different.
Yeah.
Like he had less of a hitch. It was more of a reliable shot. He wasn't making it at a super high clip or something, but it shows that he's still steadily working on his game. He's never going to be a guy that, but if he can eventually, that we say that about a lot of guys, but he could kind of mitigate some of the things that are problematic from it if we use him properly in terms of being more active in the middle of the floor and stuff like that. Now, does JJ want to take a chance on that? I'm not sure, but I've seen him be marginally effective as an offensive player, like in a Chris Finch system. Like I've seen it. But I do think overall it was a disappointing season from him. We needed a little more than we got from him, but I think we were kind of relying on him a little too much because like the reason like the other teams fell off like the previous years is because he wasn't hurt. I mean, he wasn't playing. Like I think last season goes differently if like we have Jared Vanderbilt on the team consistently. I think we kind of built our team around the idea that he was going to be the guy doing everything for us on defense, and it didn't really come to fruition. And now we had a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith that kind of replaces that role for us in certain respects, not like as an on-ball defender, but as the guy that we're going to trust in defensive lineups to get things done out there. And so it kind of created a thing where he wasn't going to get as much opportunity to kind of knock whatever rust off he had, and he wasn't going to be as effective in limited minutes. I think he was pressing a little bit to try to make something happen because he knew that he wasn't going to be playing as much. So overall, disappointing season from him, but if he is able to stay healthy, he's had multiple feet injuries at this point. Like that was the problem in Denver. He couldn't get on the floor because I think he hurt his feet back then. And he had double foot surgery. So like going to have some things to worry about on that end. But in terms of the future, I think this is probably the lowest we're going to see from him effectiveness wise if he stays healthy. So I'm optimistic about him being able to return back to the guy that he was if he doesn't get hurt. What is he, like 25, 26? Like
he's young, yeah.
Let me see. Jared Vanderbilt. He is 26. So 26, there's still a lot of, you know what I'm saying, juice there if he's healthy. So like I'm not throwing everything out with him. Like I can see him getting explored in packages and stuff like that. I wouldn't be averse to it. But I think better things are to come for him.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to kind of almost wrap it up. One thing I want to say is, you know, this is kind of apples and oranges, but one thing our friend Aaron Larzul from the Lakers told me about just kind of doing the job that I do. He's like, you got to be two things. You got to be entertaining and educational because people want to learn from what you have, but if it's too dry, they get bored. You got to find a way to kind of make it light. And he told me, unless you're going to be so entertaining that doesn't matter that you don't really know much because people are laughing, or you're so educational that despite it being dry, they just have to lock in because you just know so much. And I feel like with players, it's the same thing. There's offense, there's defense. If you're only going to be one, you better be so good that it doesn't matter. And the Vandal defense we got this year did not warrant what he gave on offense to keep him on the floor. That's the problem. Yeah, you're a better defender than most of us, but you're not that because you're not being that lockdown guy. You're not being that on-ball guy, and you're giving me nothing on offense. It meant, you know what? I'm throwing you away. And that's why Redick was like, I can't do it. Your defense is not good enough to justify having you on the floor. I can't just it's not football. I can't just put you on one And not, like you got to play both, and you
Hockey
can't do it.
subs, baby. Let's get it.
Yeah, you can't do it. And guess what? What was one of the main problems the Lakers had this year? Offense. They weren't able to generate good looks. They weren't able to score consistently. The offensive rating, all the numbers show that their offense struggled, minus a couple of guys. And Vandal just wasn't able to help. Compared to Goodwin, the reason we're talking better about Goodwin was, hey, you can knock down a couple threes here and there. You can keep the space, also the spacing. How many times did we? The reason why we saw so much space for Vandal is because teams were starting to realize, hey, they're not passing him the ball. He can't do anything with them. We can always collapse on him once he gets the ball. Like, it's okay. Like, we don't have to worry too much about it. Once he gets the ball, we'll collapse on him. We'll force him into a turnover. We got him. How many times did he have the ball on the wing, and then he would do a weak dribble handoff, and he'd get the ball stolen from him, or like he struggled with that pass, and the inbounding as well. Like, he just wasn't able to do all those things. And I think that overall, as both of you mentioned, him being healthy, he kind of proved he could be healthy. It's only 30 games, but once he came back, he stayed back. So, okay, let's see what he looks like this year. If he comes back, let's see what he looks like with the full off season. Maybe his injuries are behind him. And I definitely think it's a new season. I can totally see Redick being like, you know what? Clean slate. Let's see how he looks in training camp, and let's take it from there. In the middle of the season, the Lakers were trying to get wins. We're in a tight race. We're trying to get home court. There wasn't time to be like, you know what, Vando, if we lose this game because you kind of messed it up, that's okay. They were not in any kind of an opportunity to think about the marathon and all that stuff. They're like, we're trying to get Luka situated. Again, what did Pelinka say? It was like trying to change parts of a plane in the middle of the air, right? He's like, we got a lot of stuff going on. I'm sorry, Vando. We don't have time to wait for you to get it together. I'm trying to figure out how to get Luka working with LeBron and AR, and we got like 8 games in 12 nights, and we're 2 games back from the play-in, and like we got other stuff to worry about. So if he does come back, because as Anthony mentioned, a lot of teams, they're gonna buy themselves into Vando. Hey, versatile guy, good defender. We got shooters already. We could probably and he's got not a bad contract, a couple years on it. Some team can convince themselves that that's worth it. So he might not even be back because of that. But if he does come back, I hope that he can look like more like the Vando we saw when he got here versus the Vando we saw at the end of this season here. All right.
I was just gonna say, like, to me, there's no player in the league that, like, you can you look around the league at all players that are really known for their defense. Like, they've all added some type of offensive progression to their game, right? Lou Dort, Caruso, all of them on the Thunder somehow. But Jaden McDaniels as well, right? Another guy who's really killed us on just his offensive end, is known for a defensive only guy. So, like, you gotta contribute something on offense to me to play, at least in today's league. And number two, Anthony, you were talking about stop passing to Vando. It was cool watching Luka learn that, like, in real time, like, because Luka to me passes to areas, really, right? Because he's so ball dominant. He doesn't really care who's in the corner. He just, like, that's where they're helping off from. That's where my pass goes.
Right.
And like Vando kind of learned, like, I gotta shoot this because Luka's gonna give me freaking red eye laser balls if I don't. So it was just like this cool game they were playing of, like, I don't really want to shoot this, but you're the open guy. And yeah, I think the corner three, like, that's to me the optimistic thing, is I think he shot 36% on corner threes. That's something you can build off, and like you can replicate that in an open gym because no one's gonna guard him in either place. So I think that's a place he can actually build on and hopefully build into. I think he's gonna be on the team next season. So I hopefully that's added to his game.
All right, Anthony, you got anything else on Vander, or you want to go to Gabe now?
We could slide over to Gabe. You know what I'm saying? We're pushing on two.
All right.
Or the 2-piece, so we can get the Gabe.
Oh, I've got the 2-piece. Okay, so Gabe Vincent. I'll start here with this. Actually, I'll just kind of kick it off to Raj. But basically, Gabe was a player who last year he was that injured guy, right? Like, oh, he's injured. He's never going to play. What's going to happen? This year, he stayed relatively healthy. And we saw what Gabe could be in a Laker uniform. Played 72 games, only starting in 11. He averaged 21 minutes, 6 points, shot 35% from 3, 40% from the field. So just overall, Raj, how did you feel about the Gabe Vincent experience this year?
I thought he was like what they hoped to have signed in 2023 or whenever they signed him. Like, this felt like the Gabe Vincent they were hoping to get, just a super professional guy that can come in, you can trust with the ball, that does his defensive assignments, right? I thought he was pretty good on just being a guy you can trust on the floor, and JJ really trusted him as well, right? Like, he's a big part of our rotation all year, all the way up until the end of the playoffs, where he got kind of removed from it. But I thought it was a good Gabe Vincent year. I thought he was very solid. I thought he also re-upped his trade value a little bit, right? He's now a guy that just a bit where other teams can look at. If we need a serious guard off the bench, we can kind of look at Gabe Vincent as a real possibility. And if you were talking about Minnesota being the worst possible matchup, I think that fits into Gabe Vincent as well, where every other player is just 5 inches taller than him, and it really negates what his value is. I feel like Dante DiVincenzo is kind of like, oh, Gabe Vincent's a nice player. Then you look at Dante DiVincenzo and you're like, damn, that's a good playoff player. That's kind of the next level. And obviously Dante makes way more than he does. But yeah, I thought it was a solid year for Gabe Vincent. The question the Lakers have to me is like, can you trust him as part of year 8? And JJ's answer was pretty definitively no by the end of the Minnesota series. Obviously, again, you can boil that down to the matchups, but him getting cut off that way, and it's funny seeing JJ be like, "Yeah, I gotta go apologize to all the guys." Gabe Vincent being like year 7, being like, "Yeah, I gotta go apologize to Gabe whatever year he's in for not playing him." But yeah, I thought it was a very solid year for Gabe. He's a guy. If he's on the team next year, I'm not upset. Like I think he's a trusted guy, at least in a regular season capacity, that you can play night to night and know you're gonna get effort, you're gonna get professionalism, and he's not gonna do dumb stuff on the floor, which is really all I ask from role players. Like just don't hurt me
Yeah,
on the
don't
floor.
make me mad when I watch you play. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to be overly awesome. You just can't be overtly harmful. And so that's kind of how I look at Gabe Vincent. Just a very solid player that has very clear weaknesses that you can kind of plan around. If you have more than 6 players that you believe in.
All right, Anthony, you're the one who wanted to talk Vando. So I'm sorry, not Vando. You did want to talk about Vando, but you also want to talk about.
I said we could do both, baby.
All right, so what is it that you wanted to say about Gabe Vincent's year?
It was just the simple fact that we actually got productive minutes out of him, because even before he was fully injured last year, he was shooting 7% from 3 or something. Wow, he had that weird foul in the Kings game. So he was showing signs of struggling even without the injury part of it lingering around. And I really commend him this season, because he kind of started this season kind of off too. I remember somebody who will not be named in this particular video call was like, "Hey man, get this brother off my roster. He ain't hooping." I'm like, I'm not there with it. But he picked it up over the course of the season. He really started shooting the ball well, even though he's one of the streakiest shooters I've ever seen put on a jersey anywhere. I think people had an idea of him coming in and bringing this grit at the point guard position and being a guy who could probably start alongside LeBron James if need be in a playoff scenario. And I was under the impression that wasn't going to be what he was going to bring, because I watched the finals run. I saw when Denver played him off the floor. I'm like, you're not getting Kyle Lowry Jr. out here. That's not what you're getting. But what you are getting is a professional basketball player. And that's what he brought the entire time he was here. Whether or not he stays here is a thing that we actually have to consider. But I think he did a good job in rehabilitating only his reputation as a hooper, because he was going the way of Kendrick Nunn a little bit. And providing something during the course of a regular season that I think is valuable for a basketball team. Whether or not he can play against a team full of 6'8" guys who keep switching and he's just trying to put his chest on them and stop him from doing something that's not really doing anything, that's a discussion for another day. But as a guy on your team that you can get reliable production from, and not from a number sense, but from a scheme sense, from a guy that's gonna do his job and do it with the appropriate amount of gusto that you need on a serious basketball team, I think he reaches that level. And his playoff impact is situation dependent. I think people don't like some of the shot selection that he has and stuff like that, but he's earned it through the other things he does on the floor. So overall, as good of a season as I realistically expected from him, because I thought he might have just been cooked. So he showed that he's still a functional basketball player. And I think that if he's on the roster next year, I'm not mad at it. I do think that we need another guard that's actually now. Luka kind of mitigates this a little bit. He's going to be the guy, but I think we need a probably a better ball handler in the backup guard position. It's probably going to be Austin a lot of the time anyway, so it might not matter that much. But I think we need a guy who can run offense better than Gabe Vincent currently can. Whether or not that guy's out there, I don't think it is really like that. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. But for what he does, I appreciated what he did this season, and I think he's still a valuable member of a basketball team.
Yeah. I was the aforementioned person who was called out And again, I think part of this, I don't know how y'all feel about this. I think you're probably the same camp as me. Look, I get stuff wrong all the time. Like, that's the whole point. I'm learning. I thought I said Lakers in 6, I think, or 5. Lakers are 5 or 6 against the Wolves. I was wrong.
Spicy.
And I think it's okay to admit. I think sometimes people get afraid of like, oh, I'm the expert. I can get it. No, we get it wrong all the time. We're learning too, right? Like, we're learning as it goes around. Players disappoint us. We over-index this guy. We underestimate this guy. That happens. And I'm not ashamed to admit I was wrong about Gabe Vincent. I wanted him off the team, and the more I watched him play, he talked me into it. I won't go as far as saying his confidence was shaken, but I definitely think it was easy to it wasn't ridiculous that I thought that, because the evidence was the games, right? And I remember I was at practice, for Silver Screen and Roll, get the plug, and I was at practice, and they were talking about, this was like LeBron AD still Lakers, so early in the season, and Gabe was talking after practice. And then they were talking about players needing to step up offensively. Again, still talking about offense and helping LeBron AD, and about it could be anyone's big game, right? Like Austin can have a big game, Max can have a big game. That's what they're talking about, right? And this is Gabe talking about like the other role players can step up, and like we all need to help, right? And then Dave McMiniman of ESPN, he butted in. He's like, it could be, because Gabe said, oh, it could be Austin, it could be D'Lo, it could be Max, like they can all step up. And then Dave says it could be Gabe Vincent. And then Gabe kind of laughed, like, LOL, it can't be me. But he's like, sure. And when he laughed, I was kind of like, oh, I don't think he would. There's a reason he didn't put his own name in there. That's kind of crazy. And I took a mental note of that. And then I'm like, see, even he doesn't think that. That's kind of interesting. And then as the season gone on, he started having more of those games. They weren't every night. You couldn't depend on it. But he'd have that 6 for 9 from 3, 4 for 5 from 3, 21 points, 18 points, 15 points. And I'm like, okay. You don't get it all the time. As Anthony mentioned, he's very streaky, but you're going to get it sometimes. And again, on a given night, you might be like, you know what? Throw Gabe Vincent in there. See if he can get it going. We're struggling today. We know we got 63 points, and the third quarter is almost over. See if he can catch fire and kind of help us out here. Maybe he can help us, get back in this game. Maybe he can help us take this from an 8-point game to a 15-point game. Like, that could be really helpful here. You can swing things around. Again, things that Goodwin can't do. He can light fire and kind of, give you that. And I turned around from saying, hey, look, he's not always going to do it, but he's decent on defense. He runs the offense well, and he can catch fire. It's worth having him in there. And if he catches fire, you can make adjustments and kind of keep him out there. That's why I went from, around Thanksgiving, I wanted him off the team, to at the end of the year, I'm yelling at my TV, put Gabe Vincent into game 4. Give him a chance. He can close this out. Like, let him get some run, right? Because he's a player who could catch fire. And I mentioned it. We'll talk about it next week when we talk about JJ Redick. But Gabe could have had the Lonnie Walker game. He could have had that moment if you trusted him and gave him a shot. He could have been the backbreaker. That game was close. The Lakers were up by double digits going in the fourth. If you would have just given Gabe like a few minutes there, and he hits 2 threes, that game becomes a 16-point game. It's over, right? And then you sub him in for, he was often sub for like LeBron. You give LeBron that rest. If Gabe could have hit those 2 threes, you could be like, oh, we're up 16. All right, LeBron, there's 8 minutes left in the fourth, right? Take us home. Like, we got this, play for 4 more minutes, and then we could sub you out early if we have to, that kind of stuff. We lost those opportunities because of that trust that Raj was talking about. And I think that, again, learning moments, coaches learn too. I'm sure if he could go back, he wouldn't have played everybody every minute, despite the fact that he says, I no regrets. No regrets. I'm like, you probably have a regret. I think you regret. We lost, so obviously you would have done something different. There's no way you're telling me we lost the game. You're like, I would do everything exactly the same. It doesn't make sense. But of course, pride gets into it, and you want to stand for what you did. But yeah, Gabe should have got those opportunities. And if you would have told me that in Thanksgiving, I would have been like, I hope Gabe's not playing in the playoffs, And I went from that to like, hey, I think I want him back. And I think I do want him back. Again, this team's not all going to come back together. It wouldn't make sense if they would all come back together. They're not good enough. But as individual pieces, you can imagine a scenario where they're part of the return team because they've proven that they can kind of do that consistently. So one last time around, either you can go with your favorite moment of Gabe Vincent or just kind of final thoughts on him before we kind of close things out. We'll start with Raj.
Yeah, I think my favorite. He had like a really clutch 3 against New York. I think in the home game, I believe to kind of I believe ice that game or maybe put it overtime. I don't remember, but yeah, I just thought he hit big shots for us all season. And no, Edwin, you were right. He was passing up shots early on. I remember he would
Yeah.
not shoot. And he went from that to a guy that, could get up 6 threes, against what I like about him is it doesn't have to be an open shot for him to shoot. I know that's really counter kind of intuitive, but I like that he can kind of shoot against a good closeout, which I think matters sometimes. Like sometimes defenses win the possession where defenses kind of get you in a place where they're rotating correctly and he can still hit a shot with a guy kind of running out at him. So yeah, he doesn't even, to me, Edwin, he doesn't even have to hit the 2 threes in your hypothetical scenario here. He just kind of gives a break to one of the players at a time, whether it's Austin, LeBron, or Luca. And I think we win that game, sadly. So that's kind of one of the, I'm sure, regrets that JJ has. At least I hope that's something he's looking back on. But yeah, I just thought Gabe really, from I believe December on or whenever it was, just really transformed into the player that we hoped. We signed in 2023, and I think we have him for one more year. I think he's an expiring going into next season. So yeah, we'll see if he's back. But good, solid Gabe Vincent season.
All right, Anthony, any favorite moments, last kind of thoughts on Gabe?
He had like a couple like really big games like towards the end of the season. I can't remember if this is the specific game, but he had a really good game against the Rockets. I don't think this was the game in which he like hit a whole bunch of clutch threes and then we went to overtime and then he didn't play. I don't think that was the game, but like I don't remember what game that was, but I think that was probably my favorite
End
performance
of
from him.
March. End of
Yeah,
March, he had
I can't
20
remember
points.
because
They
I don't think
won.
we went to overtime against the Rockets, but it was a situation where Austin wasn't playing well and Gabe was, and then I'm like, Gabe should probably finish this game, and he didn't get to finish. I was like, that ain't cool. But just down the stretch of the season, he was playing really good basketball for us, just making sure that we secured that third seed. The game with him and Dorian, I think that was the Rockets game where they both hit like
Yes.
6 threes, was probably my
Hold on,
favorite moment of the season,
Yes.
just
let me cut
because
you
it
off right quick
impacted winning so much. Would you say?
because I got the stats right here. So yeah,
Okay.
Dorian Finney-Smith and Gabe both scored 20 points in that game. They both hit 6 3-pointers. And like you said, Austin, again, had a little trouble. He only scored 12. He was 0 for 3 from 3 and 5 from 11. So yeah, they really stepped up in that game. Go ahead.
Oh, that was just that was my favorite moment of the season. Like I said, I'm perfectly fine with him coming back. I do think we need to upgrade the offensive side of that position at some point in the near future. But you know what I'm saying, we still got a couple years. This is all in progress. We just got Luca, baby. We got some time. Even though people like, oh, you might not resign. Ain't nobody about to pass up no ultra max like that. So I think we got some time to get some things together. But for what he
That's a
is and
lot
what
of
we
hookah
need,
lounge.
say that again.
That's a lot of hookah lounge money over there.
Oh, you know what I'm saying? Hookah Dodgers. But
Yeah.
He gave that up this summer, I thought. No.
Oh yeah.
hey, there might be some diet hookah out there. You never
Yeah.
know.
The off day
But
one.
but for what what he gave us this season, I wouldn't mind him back next season. In whatever capacity we decide to bring him back in. But I do also recognize that he could be a valuable trade piece. So if he's gone, then I appreciate his service for this season. I think he redeemed himself for what happened last year. And if he's here, then you know what I'm saying, we look forward to another season of solid role player basketball from him.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't have a specific moment either, but I think the second half of the year, the 2025 Gabe Vincent was the one where that's where you got those 20-point games, 18-point games, 15-point games. Again, it's not all scoring, but especially for a role player like that who's known as a shooter, you kind of do like, hey man, that's kind of what I need you for. So I feel like he was really strong as the season went on. He built his confidence, kind of came back, his shot came back. It might be a combination of the two. And as Raj said, that was my frustration too when I was so mad at him. I'm like, okay, not only are you bad at shooting, but you have to take the shots. Like that's what you're there for. Like you cannot pass up an open shot and then you're pump faking and then you're driving into traffic. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like then he kicks back out and he kind of relocates to the same spot. And I'm like, bro, like I'm not your biggest fan, but if you're not taking the shot, now we're really like that's adding to the frustration I'm having. You got to take it, right? You can't not take it. So that kind of went away as time went on. I was no longer worried as we got to like once we got post All-Star break, he was taking the shots he needed to take. He was really smart with the ball. And hey, he might miss them, but hey, you're taking them. And of course, that's up to Redick to decide, hey, short shift tonight, you don't got it, or hot hand. I'm going to give you an extra 8 minutes. We're going to take that away from Goodwin. We're going to take that off of Reaves. We're shorthanded. You're going to get an increase here. You're the guy who's going to get that increase. And yeah, overall, I'm happy with it. Same thing. You might need to upgrade parts of the roster. We need to get some centers. We probably need to get some wings. Maybe that equals Gabe being gone. Maybe that doesn't. And hey, we're good with our backup guards. I'm not really mad at the backup guards. We just need, some kind of small forwards and some centers. We need some 3, 4, 5s. You kind of play the 1 and the 2. So maybe you'll be okay and be an asset there. So, all right, fantastic. I think this was a great playback stream. Once again, Silver Screen and Rolls playback channel. We're here every week during the off season. Hopefully we're here for Eurobasket. We're definitely going to be here for Summer League. We got the Cali Classic was just announced. So we got some California Classic basketball.
Without the Kings for some reason. What's going on? What's up with Sacramento? What happened?
So I
not the Clippers either. They never get invited.
I won't get into the details of that. But basically what's happened, if you just read the tea leaves, it was at Golden One Center, right? And then they had it for the first few years. And then Chase Center came in and they shared it. And now it's just Chase Center. Mm-hmm. So, you gotta talk to
get out of here.
Yeah, you gotta talk to the people up there with the Golden State funding. Kind of all of a sudden they got squeezed out from they ran it, they shared it. Now Golden State runs it, and you didn't get an invite. But
crazy.
On my pettiness for Sacramento, hey, I'm not crying for you. So like, it is what it is. Yeah, you're right. It'll be the Lakers, Spurs, Warriors, and Heat. Somehow the Heat get invited to the California Classic. Why?
They always do.
They was doing us dirty last year, boy. There was somebody on their team that was killing us last year.
So yeah, we had Harrison was out there getting buckets too, if I remember correctly. So we'll be here for that. But before we do that, next week on, I believe, Tuesday, we'll be talking between Redick, Luka, and LeBron. So we're gonna have the big.
Because I thought it was Thursday.
No, I got Tuesday the 4th. So Tuesday the 4th, we'll be talking about Redick, Luka, LeBron. So we'll be diving deep into it. I definitely want to talk about Redick, the season he had. It's kind of interesting, with a coach. We might watch some clips of him being funny, but we're not actually gonna, pull up his pregame pressers and all that. But we'll be talking about, hey, what do we think he was gonna do? What are we impressed with? What were we disappointed by? Obviously, we're going to talk about those playoff decisions. There was more decisions, Maxi Kleber got some runs despite never playing before. So we're going to talk about all those things and kind of break them down. And also, of course, LeBron and Luka and what they did. So it's going to be very interesting going ahead and doing that. Thursday's game 1 of the finals. So exactly. Do it before. Yeah, probably a good idea. We're picking.
I just, my brain was like, hold on.
No, that's why I'm with you. We're co-hosts. We pick each other up here.
I mean, we've been streaming during all the games.
Yeah.
All right, nothing, baby.
Anthony, go ahead and close this out. Before we do that, Raj, is there anything you want to kind of promote or anywhere people should be following you?
I mean, by now you should know. But yeah, I think what went up this morning? Austin Reaves' piece went up today. Vando's piece went up the day before. I'm losing track whatever day that was before, but this is a Silver Screen and Roll playback. So if you don't know where we're at by now, you should.
He said, if you don't know, baby, you better get to it.
All right, Anthony, take us
on that note. You know what I'm saying? Playback's biggest ball knowers are signing out. Appreciate everybody for showing up. We will be back on Tuesday. I'm saying to me, we'll be back on Tuesday with more basketball analysis. Appreciate Raj once again for hitting us up, blessing us unexpectedly. Appreciate it, brother. And till next time.
Till next time.